Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a Victory Monday edition of the JP Peterson Show. And man, do we got lots to talk about today. Oh my God. What a weekend in college football and professional football, in hockey. Oh, the Rays with their nicely crafted letter back to the county commission. Oh, just a great Victory Monday. Nick Geddes from On3 Sports joining me here. Also has the Black and Gold podcast. Did I get that right?
The Charge On podcast.
The Charge On podcast. And he's here to tell all Seminole fans what a disastrous hire this is for Gus Malzahn to be the offensive coordinator.
I'm here to set you straight.
Oh my God.
I'm here to set you straight.
That's what we need.
I've been seeing your post about your excitement over Gus.
I'm looking at all the numbers. I'm like, oh, an 8th ranked offense? Not 128th? That sounds good to me right now. That's fantastic. But do you say there's some nuance to those numbers?
There might be. There might
All
be
right.
that we'll get into later.
We'll get into that as well. We will break down why we should not be celebrating a Buccaneers win totally. I mean, any win's good, but man, this defense in the clutch, the Todd Bowles clutch defense is the worst in football. But damn, did they show some heart, show some guts, played well in the clutch. At least the offense did. One guy made a play on defense, and the Bucs escape with a narrow 3-point win that they don't deserve.
I was going to say, can you play worse than that and win a football game in the
It's hard.
National Football League?
It's hard. You have to be playing a team that doesn't know how to win, and that's the Panthers.
Yeah.
But they're plucky, and Dave Canales has them playing some really good football right now. And the Bucs were exposed in some places where they are. The Bucs are just I think they can be a really good football team, but there's things that are holding them back, which we will get into today and discuss. But the bottom line is they are 6-6. If you're a betting man and you're looking at the Falcons or the Bucs, you got to go Bucs. You got to go Bucs at this point. So we'll get into all that. We're going to get into all the shenanigans that went on this weekend. How bad Florida State is, and the lack of class in which the Gators celebrated their win. We'll get into that debate as well, which I've been stoking all weekend.
I got a feeling we're going to disagree on that one.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I've heard a lot of good debates about this, but for me, I'm old school.
Right.
I'm old school, and sportsmanship is at an all-time low. There's no question about that. And I would love to see a return to the days of where you respect your opponent. But I hear people say, well, those days are over. I say bullshit. No, they're not. It's about reclaiming what is right. And there's a lot of that going on right now. And I think this is part of it. And coaches need to get a control of their players, in my opinion. But we'll have that debate. That's old school, new school debate. So we can do that as well. Of course, we love to have your comments, folks. So jump in the comments. You guys are already lighting up the comments, so I appreciate that. You can do that on YouTube. You can do that on the X machine at the JP Peterson Show. That's our new Twitter until my old one is restored, if ever. So please like and subscribe there, and like and subscribe on our YouTube and everything else. So let's get into this Bucs win over the Panthers. And clearly from the very beginning, this Bucs team was flat. It was a huge game. Every game is huge at this point. The Bucs basically are in playoff mode. They have to win. I think they can be allowed one slip up the rest of the way, but that's not even guaranteed. If somehow the Falcons find their way into winning the rest of their games, they've got 2 tough games left under schedule at Minnesota and at Washington. Can they win both those games? Absolutely they can. No question about it. Will they win all their games? Doubtful. Will the Bucs win all their games? Doubtful, because of what you saw yesterday. The NFL is a one-score game. The Bucs have not been good at one-score games. 1 in 5, I believe, coming into this game against the Panthers, which, frankly, they should have lost on multiple occasions. When you allow Bryce Young, one of the worst quarterbacks, and I know he's been playing better lately, I get that. You allow one of the worst quarterbacks in the league to just go right down the field because Dave Canales knows that the great into the great wide open, that's the middle of the field for the Buccaneers, especially in clutch time when they run that soft ass zone, which is what they did. And you even heard Schlereth in the broadcast. It's like, where's the Bucs pressure? Where's the Bucs pressure on Bryce Young? Yeah, you're sending 5. Yeah, you're doing that, but you're not getting any pressure. You got to, and it doesn't matter whether if it's 5, 6, or 7, you got to get pressure. And it's not like there's a group of receivers back there that, Adam Thielen, who's about 80 years old, still running through your defense and getting wide open. Leggett, the greatness that is, who are these guys? We have no idea who they are. And Bryce Young has been terrible. This is, really, really good teams come in there and shut them down. Listen, I know they took Kansas City to the wire. I get it. The Panthers are playing better football. But the litany of mistakes, the penalties yesterday were just crucial. Save the Yaya Diaby roughing the passer, ridiculous call there. But the Bucs got the biggest call of the game when Adam Thielen clearly caught a touchdown pass. I think he just was securing the ball when he hit the ground, which is supposed to be called in control. And the fact that they didn't have a good look at it and the ref was right on top of it, I think he blew the call. Quite frankly, I don't think he ever lost control of the ball. Even if he shifted it a little bit, that's supposed to be allowed as long as you're controlling the football. That's the biggest call of the game, and went the Bucs' way, and it saved their ass.
Well, wouldn't you love to know that once again the Fox crew did not have enough camera angles? It actually was a pull report with Joe Person of the Athletic, I believe, and he spoke with Mark Butterworth, the replay exec, and he said there were not as many cameras at this game. One shot that would have been good. The receiver ended up behind the goalpost, so we lost that angles. Other angles were coming in too early or too late, which I don't know what that means. But yeah, bizarre, because even with like the difficulty as he's explaining, because he kind of got lost behind the goalpost a little bit, I thought it was clear. That ball never moved. And
I think he may have adjusted it as he went to the ground, but that's supposed to be still control. It wasn't a bobble. There's a difference between a bobble and an adjustment. And if you're pulling the ball into yourself so you don't lose it when you hit the ground, that's supposed to be allowed. You can see when a guy loses control, and when he's adjusting the ball and it's moving, he still has control of it. And I think that's where the misinterpretation was. And I do think if they would have had a better angle of it, they would have gotten the call correct. That was a touchdown again over the middle.
Game-changing call
that went the Bucs' way. And there were a few of those.
And the Bucs, and to be fair, the Bucs have had many of these calls go against them this year. So I guess we should just take it and move on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But when you're analyzing this game, and just think about this: if Anthony Nelson does not rip that ball out,
game's over.
Now Pinheiro had missed a couple of short field goals, but a reliable kicker, probably the numbers tell you he's going to make that one. They're going to lose, and we're going to sit here going, once again, the Bucs defense could not hold up in two situations. At end of game, right? End of game, you with 2.5 minutes, you let Bryce Young go right down the field and get a touchdown. And it wasn't hard. There was no superstar plays on that particular drive where I went, wow, I can't believe it. No, it was just pretty simple. They protected him. Guys got open. They did what they had to. And then when it came down to the red zone, it was wide open once again. Either Russell or Winfield didn't cover Thielen over the middle of the field because they don't know how to play that coverage. It's awful. It's never good. And once again, teams go right down the field. If you cannot stop teams in situations like this, then you're not going to be a championship football team. It's as simple as that. And this is going to happen again as we go through the 5 games now. There are teams on your schedule that you should beat. You got to play Carolina again. Well, who's to say that they should have beat you this time? Who's to say you're going to beat them at home? You got to play the Saints again, who always give you trouble at home. They did it last year when you had a must win. They came in and whooped your ass. You got to go to the Chargers. The Chargers play a physical brand of football. It's a long trip. You're not going to be favored in that game. That's the one slip up you can possibly have.
Right.
You got to go to Dallas over on Christmas week. Dallas, for whatever reason, they've got some talented players
playing better lately.
So who's to say that they're going to lay down for you at all? Every one of these games is going to be a dogfight. Yeah. And it tells me that in close games, you still don't have a defense that you can rely on.
No, and here's the thing. We know it at this point. I'm not shocked. When the Bucs were able to go down the field there in the last few minutes of the fourth quarter, it was, and when they didn't get 6. And by the way, we obviously will take Todd Bowles to task. We've already done it with his defense. Liam Cohen had a bad day. Liam Cohen, I thought, had a bad day yesterday.
I thought he got it better in the second half when he realized Baker's not having a good day. He's either hurt or something's not working. Let's just hand the ball to Bucky Irving.
This is
8 of the 11 plays on that great scoring drive went to Bucky Irving.
Yeah.
I think 60 of the 69 yards were his.
Yeah, but my point is, like, on that drive, Bucky Irving got you all the way down the field. And I know Bucky was hurt, and I didn't have a problem with Rashad coming in. That's not what I'm saying here. The play call there, when they were trying to get 6, they kind of pull somebody.
Where Rashad lost like 4,
Yeah, and it just kind of got, like, to me, you were dominating them just playing straight up, mano-y-mano, just go and try to punch it into the end zone.
It. Yeah, Schlereth mentioned that. Was, I think it was a really good point that he brought up, because when you're pulling guys in goal line situations, it's not like you got 3 down linemen. You got 5 down linemen. Everybody's in a gap. And when you start pulling people out, it opens up penetration opportunities, which is exactly what happened. If you just, as my old offensive line coach Rapp used to say, let's just drive it, wedge it, as we called it. The zone blocking now is just wedge it.
Yeah.
And you just wedge it and you push them back. That would have been a much better call.
So when they didn't get 6 right there, I looked at the clock and I said, well, the Bucs have already made 1 fourth quarter stop. I think they're maxed out.
Yeah.
I think they're maxed out. There's no way they can get 2. It doesn't matter who they're facing on the other side of them. And sure enough, it's if they want to throw to the sideline, it's wide open. They want to throw to the middle of the field, it's wide open. It's uncontested. Adam Thielen just comes right across the middle of the field. Just nobody follows them, or they're late recognizing it, whatever. And Bryce Young, give him credit, throws a beautiful ball, and they're 6. And I literally was going nuts in my office. I'm just like, this freaking team, man. Like, it's like that would have been like the 4th loss, I think, either in overtime or in the final 30 seconds of the season.
Where the defense gave up the booty. Like you said. And it's like, what else do I point to at that point? I know the offense had a bad day. For their standards, to be honest with you, they still found a way to score 26, by the way. They still ran up 446 yards.
That's their bad day.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool, right? But no, this defense is just not championship caliber whatsoever. I mean, even before half, what a debacle. Before half, that was horrid.
Well, I will give him credit for this. He did actually call a timeout when Carolina had the ball to save time for that last possession, because they deferred, which they should do.
Yeah.
They deferred, so they were getting the extra. I'm like, nice. And then Baker throws a stupid pick.
Well, yeah.
But right after he had thrown a ball to the sideline that he shouldn't have thrown.
Exactly.
He comes back and does the same thing to the opposite side and gets it picked.
Yeah.
I mean, like, come on, bro.
Yeah. But on that before half, though, like when Carolina goes back the other way, they got no timeouts.
No.
What do you know? We all know what they're doing. They're trying to throw to the sideline, and the Bucs are just giving the sideline to them. It's comedy hour. In critical situations, this defense it's like Todd doesn't have a clue.
Yeah. And that's why I say you're not going to win anything with this as your defense. Yeah. And now Mike Edwards is out. We don't know. And we were told last week that Mike Edwards is the key to the whole thing.
Who said that?
Todd Bowles. After the game, he's like, Mike Edwards allows us to calm down, allows us to put Winfield up in the box, allows us to do this. He's the best communicator. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Why was he on waivers? Why didn't we go get him time ago?
I'm gonna add that one in my Todd Bowles quote book.
Yeah, just some of the things that are said are crazy. But he did do the timeout, but then he got burned but it's still the right thing to do.
Right.
The process was there. The process was there. Just don't throw a stupid pick, which is what Baker did twice. And then Baker giveth and Baker taketh away.
Yep.
It's so funny. I'm arguing with somebody on Twitter about Baker. He's like, yeah, you're never going to win a Super Bowl with Baker. I'm like, he's only thrown the most touchdown passes in the league since the start of 2023. And then whoop, right on cue, he throws a horrible interception. He goes, yeah, but you can't do that. I'm like, yeah, you're right. You can't do that. And for the most part, he's been pretty good about that, throwing picks this year. Those two, there have been some bad ones. But listen, when you lead the league in touchdown passes, you have to take chances. And this is the good and the bad. And yesterday the bad showed up, but they were able to overcome it. And the good, 30 seconds left. You got to get a field goal. He throws a stick to Mike. And Mike's so great in those situations when they're playing zone. Huge catch radius, great route runner, perfect timing. They get one to J-Mac. J-Mac makes a nice play on that. And then, of course, the Baker run.
Yeah,
a Baker run.
Sterling Shepard, I think, had one too.
Yep. Yeah. And the Baker run on third down on a bad wheel. That's all guts. That's all guts. And it's a huge, huge play. They get into, I wasn't a big fan of getting those extra 3 or 4 yards for Chase because his leg is big enough, but you did it. You executed it well with 6 seconds left. So kudos to that. And then Chase hits the field goal, and he's been so money. So there's so many good things about this team. I mean, I think you got the best kicker in the league now that Justin Tucker's somebody's taken over his body. You got the best kicker in the league. Baker makes plays down the stretch, man. When you need it, he's really, really good. He did a great job in overtime, and he did a great job in regulation to get that for you. But again, and then of course he was smart enough, or somebody was smart enough, because the one thing Baker sucks at, coin toss. Baker sucks at coin toss. Don't ever play coin toss if you play Baker in coin toss, but he's terrible. So whoever's idea it was to send Levante out, that was
smart,
genius. So Levante goes out there and calls heads, I believe, and gets it. So they get the ball, and you're like, oh, thank God, the defense doesn't have to be on the field. But it shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't be. The coin flip should not decide the game. And even with the Panthers, you knew if the Bucs lost the coin flip, they were going to go right down the field and score a touchdown. You knew that.
Right.
You knew that. So you win the toss, and then offensively, I think Baker took a sack or something. Yeah, they get down into field goal range, high snap, and Chase finally misses one. And then, they respond with an Adam Thielen one-handed catch.
That was going to be the talking point, was that catch.
Yeah, that was going to be the talk, and the terrible coverage.
Yeah.
I mean, to Bowles' credit, he lines Cansey up on the outside, and he comes unblocked on the outside and is about to absolutely destroy Bryce Young, and I think he did. And Bryce just throws it up because he has one-on-one coverage. I forgot who was covering Thielen, but it wasn't Jamel Dean. It wasn't a corner. And he just doesn't play the ball whatsoever. It's a freaking prayer. And Thielen reaches back and catches it with one hand. I'm like, that's it. Season's over. Season's over. And damned if freaking Anthony freaking Nelson, who, by the way, makes more plays per snaps than any of the outside linebackers.
And by the way, if not Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, if he was playing, that would have been him on the field, not Anthony Nelson, by the way.
Yeah. Once again, by injury, we get the better player.
Correct.
Once again, because defensively, Todd doesn't know who the better players are. Anthony Nelson has always been per snap the most productive guy you got out there, but doesn't get as many snaps as JTS. And you just like, whatever. But JTS is a chess piece, versatile chess piece.
He's definitely got a chest on him for sure.
I wouldn't even call him a pawn at this point, man, but he's certainly no bishop or queen. That's for sure. So Anthony Nelson sees that opening. And if you saw the replay, Chuba Hubbard just kind of had that ball one hand and then it got away from his body a little bit. Mm-hmm. And Nelson saw it and ripped it out. Yaya, I thought was going to screw the whole thing up by trying to scoop and score. I'm like, get on the damn ball. So
why are we doing this still?
Finally got down on the ball, and the Bucs moved it and got the winning kick.
Yeah,
so.
and by the way, because I was going to talk about the fact that offensively, Baker very just up and down, and then sometimes Baker does this, like he has that sort of quality in him. It felt like yesterday he was trying to win the game with every throw. It felt like he was just trying too hard. And you don't have the guys, in my opinion, to try to just be sticking throws into these tight windows unless it's Mike.
Yeah.
Because none of your receivers were helping you. K-Dot did not have a great football game. He was dropping passes early.
Killed you.
Jalen McMillan, man, up until he made the really great catch there in overtime, I was like, there's just no reason for him to be out there. He doesn't look like he knows what he's doing.
He's just not physical enough. That's why in training camp you look great.
Yeah, Trey Palmer was the same way.
Nobody's hitting you. Nobody's really mugging you,
Yeah.
And now when it comes to the regular season, he's, guys, you're allowed to put your hands on, I don't care what you say. You guys put your hands on you. In any situation when they get their hands on him, he's just not physical enough to withstand it. And he's got to get bigger and stronger.
Yeah, I'll give him credit. He made a tough catch there in overtime that they absolutely needed. But
they did.
It's just that's the one thing I look at the Bucs offense right now without Chris going down. And I undersold how much it was really going to impact this team.
Oh, in the red zone.
Yeah. I mean, Sterling Shepard.
It becomes, option A. I'm like, when did that happen?
Yeah. Like it's helped so much that the Buccaneers have learned how to run the football. And perhaps we buried that so much here because we've been talking about a lot of the bad things.
We'll get to that. Yeah.
But the Bucs ran for 236 yards yesterday on the ground. I mean, can we how in the world is this in 1 year? Did Liam Cohen come in here and fix the rushing offense?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with Kevin Carberry and Harold Godwin, who's now with the Panthers in that group. Look at what they did. They ran for 76 yards. They don't run the football, and we do because we have an offensive line that now understands how to block and how they best block.
Yeah.
And you've got obviously Bucky Irving's a much better running back than they've ever had before. But even Rachaad White is yesterday had a 6-yard average thanks to that 38-yard run. And it's so funny in overtime as we're all yelling at the where's Bucky Irving? Where's Bucky Irving? And he was hurt. That's why he wasn't in there. But Rachaad ripped off a 38-yarder, and that was basically the game winner. Hell of a play by him. He ran through nice hole. Runs through a couple of arm tackles at the point of attack, and he has that nice burst. If he can get going, then he's good to go. Yeah. And that was a huge run in that situation.
Yeah, and so I bring up Bucky, and first of all, Bucky is just awesome to watch. I said this yesterday. I know that Jason has drafted 2 Hall of Fame players in Mike Evans and Tristan Wirfs and Antoine Winfield Jr. Obviously, he's drafted a lot of really good players. We've watched Bucky Irving for 12 games now.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, he's entered the top 3 favorite players that Jason has drafted. I feel like he's just changed so much because we watched how bad this team was at running the football during the Brady years. And now it's just been so modernized with what Liam Cohen does, but also Bucky Irving. He's so hard to bring down. He's a load. I mean, I can't believe this guy lasted to the 4th round, and that's the beauty of the draft.
Yeah.
And we sit here today, and I believe he's pushing at the moment to be a top 10 rusher in football, and that's crazy. He hasn't even been the starter for most of the time. He actually leads all rookies in scrimmage yards. He passed over 1,000 scrimmage yards yesterday, taking him over Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey. Most rushing touchdowns and most rushing yards of any rookie tailback.
Wow.
That's how good Bucky Irving's been. And he wasn't even starting until a few weeks ago.
And he most games he's been limited to 10 touches.
Yes.
10 to 12 touches until yesterday when he got 25 carries. Now, he also got hurt. So you don't know if he can handle that kind of load because he's 5'9", I'd say 205.
Well, let's examine why he got hurt.
Yeah, why did he get hurt?
Let's go back to coaching again. Right before half, when there's 5 seconds left, and Bucky Irving, your number 1 offensive player yesterday, probably your number 2 overall offensive player behind Mike, is returning kickoffs right before in the half, and on top of that, he's bringing it out for whatever reason we don't understand.
Yeah, I think he had to. It was kicked in the field of play.
Whatever.
But he can still fair catch.
Fair catch.
I think. I don't know with the new rules.
But why is he out there? Because last time I checked, that was Sean Tucker's role.
That's Sean Tucker's role.
It's just, again.
Well, I mean, maybe you're saying you don't want, Sean's been a little loose with the football, but you got to, he's got to do something. He's going to be up. He's got to do something. And so they gave him, he shouldn't be, if you're going to give him 25 carries and 30 touches in the offensive game, he shouldn't be returning
Why
kicks.
Does it just feel like all the injuries, at least on the offensive side of the ball this year,
are avoidable?
Outside of Tristan, have been avoidable.
Yeah. No, because they have. Yeah. And that's what it's one thing I was thinking when, we go to Shepard twice in the red zone because he had the one-on-one coverage. And that's, that dictates where you throw the ball. But he's not the guy. He's not the guy in the red zone. And he didn't get a whole lot of separation. He dropped the ball and they ran a perfect pick for him and he drops it.
He also got a false start penalty.
He got a false start penalty.
For a veteran player, I've never seen someone so undisciplined.
Well, two false starts by our wide receivers. I mean,
How
what
does
are we
that
doing?
happen?
What are we? That's just inexcusable. That's inexcusable. And key penalties. I mean, as good as this Bucs offense is, it's still nobody wants to be 1st and 15. That's just no.
I'm still having to remind myself they won this football game.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I know.
It's crazy.
Well, they shouldn't have. And that's why we're sitting here not, celebrating like so many people would be celebrating this win. It's hard to celebrate when you see the what I would call the unnecessary warts of this team. I mean, this defense should be better. It just should be better with an experienced head coach that is a defensive genius guru. This defense has got to be better in the clutch. You've got to come up with better play calls in the clutch to stop teams. And we seem to always remember his bad play calls in the clutch and not the good ones.
Yeah. But I mean,
because your defense can't stop anybody in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know what schematically they're doing defensively. Like, it just, to me, it feels like they're putting their players in a tough spot. You're asking your players to do way too much than they need to,
right,
for the talent that you have. What's also not helping is, again, this is a common theme. The Bucs just do not have a game wrecker on the outside.
Right.
You can have Vita Vea, you can have Kalijah Cansey, and Kalijah got another sack yesterday. It's 5 in his last 4 games. He
should have had 3.
He's really coming on. But again, it's like I'm looking around and I'm like, Yaya Diaby's like kind of there, but he's not getting there. Braswell's just nowhere to be found, MIA. JTS, when he's in there, we know that he's not getting to the
pair of
passer.
shoes.
I mean, they just don't have that threat necessarily that can take over a game.
It was interesting to see
point.
Cansey line up on the outside.
They literally threw Vita out there one time.
Yeah. I saw him standing up outside.
Yeah.
That's where, hey, well, at least he's trying something different.
Yeah.
You know,
I guess.
At least he's trying something different. I guess what they need to try now is drafting a pass rusher.
You got to go back to the well again. They've been hit. They've been
using. Yeah, they've been using, but 30th, 33rd.
Yeah, it's hard to get that guy.
Yeah. That guy's in the top 10, top 15.
Well, I mean, not even, honestly, because, I mean, I always say TJ Watt might be the outlier, but TJ Watt went 27th.
Yeah.
But even Jared Verse. I mean, Jared Verse this year went 19th.
Yeah.
Guy's pretty good.
Well, we were yelling, jump up and get him. Jump up and get him. Now, they got Graham Barton. That's why they didn't jump up and get him, because they needed a center too. That's why, hey, listen, we've kind of said this from the beginning of the season. This team is still probably a year away. Because they need to get that pass rusher. They're still a year away. I think that one out, that to me is the outlier right now for this team. They need an outside game wrecker. And again, I think they're probably going to be picking in the 18 to 24 range, which it's going to be hard to get that guy.
Yeah, to me right now, they
may have to go overpay in free agency if there's somebody out there.
Yeah.
But that's maybe a discussion for another time.
But I'll just say for their outlook now, like, again, they're going to play the Raiders next week.
Yeah.
The Raiders, to me, they got up for the Chiefs game because that's their rival and they all talk crap about each other. I'm pretty sure the Raiders are going to go right back to being the Raiders.
The Raiders, yeah.
When the Bucs play them. They're not like Carolina. They're more like New York. Okay. Yeah. But the Atlanta loses yesterday. So now, remarkably, even though
Kirk Cousins awful
games
against everybody else.
I had the numbers right here. Greg Allman gave me the numbers yesterday. Kirk Cousins against the Bucs in 2 games, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. Kirk Cousins in 10 other games, 9 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. So Kirk Cousins is the MVP of the league against the Bucs. And against everybody else, he legitimately is like Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
That's essentially what Kirk Cousins is, and that's the most frustrating part, is that the Bucs dropped both of those games that were very winnable. And now, even though you're 6-6, you still don't own the tiebreaker. But again, Atlanta can't seem to get out of their own way against anybody else they play. So the Bucs, honestly, I would pick the Bucs to be the favorite at the moment, just because Atlanta has stubbed their toe too many times.
Yeah, and there's no way Atlanta's winning out.
No,
I see at least 2. There's 2 losses on their schedule, probably 3. So the Bucs they've got to go 4-1 down the stretch. 4-1 gets you in.
Yeah.
4-1 gets you in, no questions. 10 wins gets you in. I think that beats the Falcons to the line. May even get you a wild card if you have Washington and the 49ers are fading now.
Oh, the 49ers are done.
They're toast. And McCaffrey went out last night. Season, yeah. Is he out for the season?
It sounds like he's going to be out for the season.
So, yeah, I think they're toast as well. So I'm not sure where the wild card is, but I think it's even more so. 10 gets you in.
Well, you have that win against Washington.
That's going to be huge.
Yeah. Because Washington did get the win yesterday, but they haven't been the same Washington they were in the midseason. So, but to your point, unless the Bucs, like last year was unique. I thought the Bucs last year were going to be one and done in the postseason. It just so happened the matchup of who they were playing happened to be a team that was reeling.
The fading
really bad. And you got the game
plummeting.
At home. Exactly. Yeah. And so that worked out well for you. To me, that's the only shot I think they win a playoff game this year is a similar situation. Right. In my opinion, if you catch lightning in a bottle again like that and you go up against a team that's plummeting going into the playoffs, and I don't know which team that would be right now, but that's how I see it. Other than that, the Bucs feel like one and done, unfortunately, because this defense is just not going anywhere. Yeah,
you can't win with this defense as it is. And if Mike Edwards is hurt and he's the glue, then where are you? Let's get to some of the comments here before we hit our first break, since you guys are up with us and jumping in. Good morning, Bucs Basement. How are you? Escape is the right word, because Bowles should still be fired at the end of the season for his horrendous coaching at the end of the game. 30 seconds left, allowing a touchdown. Inexcusable. And it's not even just, teams score touchdowns late. That's the way this league works. But the ease of which it is done against a predictable defense that's playing that soft zone, it's just maddening. It's maddening. And it's, and I'm like, they showed a cutaway of Dave Canales yesterday calling plays. And I'm like, he knows exactly where to go with this football. He knows exactly it was you knew that they were going to score that touchdown. I'm what jumping on Hard Rock going, Panthers, click, click, click.
What did we see last year in training
camp?
Luckily,
I didn't get the bet in.
What did we see last year in training camp? Players saying they were wide ass open in Dave Canales' offense. Yeah. I wonder who they were going up against every single day in practice.
That was the problem. Yeah. Bucs Basement continues. Let's be real here. The Bucs won this game, but Canales coached circles around Bowles, and Carolina left 13 points on the field. Absolutely true. 2 missed field goals and that BS no touchdown call. The Bucs were lucky, 100%. That's why, listen, I know our audience, you guys are smart, and you don't come in here, depending on win or loss, you don't come in here cheerleading or totally in the dumps. You watch the game and you pick up the nuances of the game. Some wins are not wins. Some losses are not loss in terms of topics and talking about things. Yes, every win is crucial in the NFL, and a W is a W. I get that. But as we sit here topically talking about this team's prospects for the future, you have no confidence because of the lack of defense and the lack of defense in the clutch.
Yeah, I acknowledge they won the game.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
hard to win in the NFL. No team's a pushover. I'm just merely saying that a overtime victory against the Carolina Panthers doesn't exactly, make me go woohoo, because there were so many issues.
Bucs Basement continues. Bowles pulled a Godwin again. He left his RB1 receiving kickoffs then to get hurt. Stupidity on his part. I truly do hope the Glazers fire him, because mediocrity is not the way to a title. Look, me. I love Todd as a human being, but during the bye week, I said, enough's enough. This defense can't get any worse. Let's try something different and try a different approach. I think eventually that's going to have to be done. But it's frustrating to watch as a Buccaneers fan. Kenneth McCleary says, I don't know how anybody else, but we need an exorcism or something for this defense and for the injuries that keep occurring to our starters. Yeah, injuries are part of the game, but some of them are avoidable. And I think we can point to the Godwin and the Bucky injuries as in that category. As far as the hire of Gus Malzahn, I'll take whatever he gives us over what we had this past year. Well, we're going to get to that. You got some topics on sportsmanship that we'll get to as well. Just looking for Buck stuff right here. William Hatcher says, good morning, my friend. My Panthers are coming along with Young starting to show up. If he was not for the fumble, they would have won the game. Absolutely. 100%. Good to see you healthy, William. To James, oh man, he's wearing me out on Twitter this week. I think for sure we need to draft LBs. Also, out Baker. Bucs are vying for number one pick. Without Baker, they're vying for number one pick. Absolutely. I'm so tired of PR trashing what Beauty Report trashing Baker.
I don't think they were trashing Baker. I think it's just acknowledging that he did not play that great yesterday.
He had some really bad interceptions. Burrow had 3 timeouts yesterday, and everyone blames their D. Our D is the issue. Yeah, there's no question about that. Our D is the issue. Greg DeCruz checking in from Costa Rica, watching Miami Airport on the way back to Costa Rica. There are no ugly wins. Enjoy today and prove tomorrow. Shut up. It's an ugly win. There are ugly wins, by the way. There are very ugly wins, and that was an ugly win. Rick says JCS is the plastic container that holds the chess pieces. Soft and malleable. Good spelling, by the way. I'm thankful for the end of the FSU season. Yeah, we're going to get to that. Bucs finally got a win they shouldn't have. I'll take that and run away in the great wide open. Easy. Listen, it happens every week in the NFL. So you take them and run.
Hey, listen, the Chiefs don't deserve to have 10 victories either, but
they don't.
11 of them, but they do.
Yeah. Another call that goes there. What the hell was that?
I'm so bothered.
Yeah. Well, God, there's so much to get to today. We need 7 hours. But that happened on Friday. It feels like, ancient, but it's like, I'm just sitting there watching the television, just going, what are we doing? If you missed that one, we'll get to it. But another just ridiculous call that gives the Chiefs a dub. It's crazy.
I don't get it. I don't know what kind of voodoo they have on the league right now.
No, it's the Taylor Swift contract.
Okay, cool.
As long as she's around, they get the calls. That's, it's the great conspiracy. Rick says, Antoine Winfield Jr. also hurt playing closing seconds in a blowout. Todd will not be here next season. Hopefully he retires. That's right. I forgot about that one. Did you see with 11 minutes left who was quarterbacking the Bills last night?
Mitch
Trubisky. Yeah. So you can put in your second string quarterback to keep your first string quarterback healthy.
You can.
That is allowed.
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking. Nathan Elliott, good morning to you, my friend. Buccaneer training staff sucks. Most injuries are due to improper stretching and preparation. I guess you can make that argument.
I don't know, but they got to lead the league in soft tissue injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, it's every week.
And that also goes to practicing. If you're not practicing hard, which the Bucs don't practice hard, they don't have tough practices. They don't in training camp. They don't during the year. I think maybe that has something to do with it as well. I think also with Mike Edwards, guys who aren't playing a lot and then start playing a lot, they're going to get hurt. That's one of the things when you pick up a guy who just hadn't been playing a lot and now, suddenly he's playing, 30, 40, 50, 60 plays, he's going to get hurt. That's just part of football. James says you should celebrate the win. KC has won 3 games this year by luck and good calls. I bet their local shows are not being overly critical. This was an awesome win. We lost game 3.
Yeah, well, you know what?
Shut up, James.
Well, you know what? The Chiefs have 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, so I wouldn't be critical about a damn thing, would I?
No.
Because I know where the Chiefs are going to be in February.
No.
Most likely.
Yeah, and they've got the cushion to do it. Nobody's saying we didn't want the win. Nobody's saying, and we say, look, we're saying that there were some great plays by the offense to win this game. And Anthony Nelson made a great play on defense, one play on defense that saved the season. I'm not going to give Todd Bowles credit for that. I'm going to look at his defense and say, your defense continues to suck in the clutch. It's awful. You can't stop anybody at any time. It's just the way it is. And you can't win anything like that. You don't have to have the best defense in the league, but you can't have one that's that bad.
Right.
You just can't. Michael LaRue, good morning to you. Love saying that. Todd Bowles' defense is 28th and 26th in scoring defense. That's not good enough. 100%. If you're a defensive coach, you got to be better than that. And there's not, and the talent on this defense is not terrible. It's not 32nd. It's not.
No.
I refuse to be. And look at how many top draft picks you have invested. You've got, one Hall of Famer, Vita Vea. And I know Levante's at the tail end of his career, but he's still a damn good football player. You have the highest paid defensive back in Anton Winfield Jr. You have Vita Vea, one of the best run stoppers. Kalijah Cansey is one of the best young defensive linemen. I think Zion and Jamel Dean are good covered corners. Not great, but good. Zion can be great. You've got enough talent on that defense to be good, to be better than 32nd. That's what I'm saying. Or 28th or wherever you are. That's bad. James, yes, you won. I understand. I can read a scoreboard. JP, it's called the Taylor script of the NFL. Oh, I like that. The Taylor script. Yeezy says Panthers Bucs will turn into a great rivalry. It was a very chippy post game. I've never seen Tristan taking ish. Yeah, I like it. Now. And that's a good segue to our next segment, which will be about sportsmanship and all the things that happened in this weekend of college football. Plus, Nick is going to chime in on why Gus Malzahn is a horrible pick, a bro pick.
I'm not going to say horrible pick. But I'm going to give you pros and cons. We're going to discuss pros and cons.
No, this is why you're here. And where's UCF going? Where are they going to go for their head coach? So all those questions, we're going to talk a lot more Buccaneers. So keep the comments coming. If you have any questions, comments about the game, we're going to talk Rays as well. I'm going to get into in our second hour the letter that the Rays sent back to the county commission. This whole thing is just so, oh my God, what a disaster. As predicted here. We're brought to you by the great folks at the Jeeves Law Group. This is the Jeeves Law Group studio that we are sitting in, warm and toasty here this morning in lovely South Tampa. And if you have any issues, if you've been involved in an accident, you know it's the Jeeves Law Group. They are local, they are trusted, and they get results. Put Scott Jeeves and his team in your corner, and you will have a law office that is aggressively representing you and certainly well decorated. So Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Back in 3. Stay with us. Hey, it's football season, and we welcome back the Gator Report every Monday and Friday, sponsored by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Just go to the website. You can contact them through there. Scott Jeeves is a tremendous, aggressive attorney and a big Gator fan, so we appreciate him supporting this show and, of course, your Florida Gators. They are local, they are trusted, and they get results. Whether it's personal injury or anything else, any law matter at all, it's the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Give them a call. Tell them JP sent you. So many of our Tampa Bay neighbors are finding out the hard way from Hurricane Helene that homeowners insurance does not cover flood damage. You must have flood insurance. It's a separate policy. Immediately call Italiano Insurance at 813-877-7799, and they will shop around to find the best policy before rates go up. Lock it in. Over 60% are underinsured in Florida, or you're not getting your discounts that you're entitled to. So do an insurance checkup at Italiano, and they could save you thousands of dollars. Italiano will make sure you're with a highly rated insurer, so there are no surprises in your time of need. Our hearts go out to all our neighbors devastated by Helene. These are the times we're proud to protect all the pieces of your life. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799. Old Hurricane Helene put a hurting on Tampa Bay, and for many of you, the rebuild will be a long process. You must beware of unscrupulous contractors offering up quick fixes for incredible prices. It's a scam. So go with long-standing, reputable companies like Third Generation Plumbing and AC. My friend John Rodriguez has been serving Tampa Bay since 1995 with hundreds of 5-star reviews. If you need a new AC system or any home repairs from Helene, they will work with insurance companies to get you taken care of quickly, expertly installed, of course, and a 1-year maintenance plan and 10-year warranty included on all AC units. 0% financing for 60 months. Contact them at thirdgenerationplumbing.com or 813-961-8024. That's 813-961-8024, thirdgenerationplumbing.com.
Ciao, Paolo Tini here, owner of Caffè Paradiso, one of South Tampa premier traditional Italian restaurant. We were recently voted number 3 on Open Table list of Tampa Bay's top 10 restaurants. We're very proud of that because we take great care of preparing each dish by hand with homemade sauces, pastas, only the freshest local ingredients. You won't see the big institutional vendor trucks pulling up to our back door. We get our seafood from local vendors. Sometimes I even drive out to Tarpon Springs and pick out our daily catch right off those boats. So stop by and say hello. Try our traditional lasagna, the fresh veal, some of our signature dishes like capelli al granchio, that is angel hair with lump crab meat, our branzino, that is a sea bass. We're located at 4205 South McDill, and you can make a reservation on Open Table and read all the great reviews. See you soon. Ciao. Grazie.
Let's go! Right now. Back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at the Italiano Insurance. If you have any issues with your homeowner's insurance, you're trying to make a claim, by all means, give them a call. If you just have some questions, I ask you to allow them to shop your homeowner's insurance, your auto insurance, your business insurance, whatever, shop it around so they can save you money. That's what they do. hundreds, thousands of dollars. Let them run it through, and they'll maybe be able to save you some money. And obviously, they give you the best customer service. So make them part of your team, your financial team. It's Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
Hey, real quick, before we move on to the next topic, just because Christopher Cole commented this about the Bucs, and we didn't mention it, I just want to make a passing mention.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of heading out to One Buck later today.
Yeah, I haven't checked the schedule today. Usually he talks at 12:30.
But for a different reason.
Okay.
I think the Buccaneers might be holding punter tryouts.
Oh.
And I punt in my free time. It's one of my, people mow the yard, people go on a walk, people go on a run. Screw all that. I punt. I find an open field and I punt.
Yeah, it's very
therapeutic.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think I'm pretty, solid at it. And I just, I think the Bucs need a new punter.
Again. I know a kid here locally, and I swear to you, he is an old friend of ours. He used to punt at Cambridge Christian and punted in college at a couple of stops. Jacob Benz. He now teaches young kids how to punt. Mm-hmm. This kid has got a thunderous leg. Like, he literally can punt the ball 70 yards with a 5-second hang time. Now, he's never done it in the pros. He's done it in college, I think Northern Arkansas, and a couple other stops. He could never get like a real good starting job because of Australian rules punters that, have all the jobs now. And he wasn't one of those, but he's a tradition. And he just crushes the ball. And if they had tryouts, he would go out there and probably have one of the best legs. Like, I'm sure. Well, who's the kid from that kicks for the Cowboys? Aubrey just came out of nowhere. He can't miss a kick.
On his couch watching people kick field goals, and his girlfriend was like, "I think you could do that."
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, but Jacob Enns, if you're out there, we need a punter because this guy Gill is awful.
He can't punt. He can't put a kickoff in the landing zone.
No.
Was Jake Camarda ever this bad?
And by the way, Jacob Enns, one of my son's best friends, he didn't kick a lot of field goals in high school because we never punted.
You don't need him to.
No, our coach didn't punt. Like, even if he was on his own 20 and 4th down, he would not punt. And even though he had one of the best punters in the county. So it was hard for him to get a scholarship because we never punted. So it's weird. Guys like this kind of, slip through the cracks. And the dude can freaking kick. And now in an NFL situation, I wouldn't necessarily want to put him in that. But it just underscores right now, we have no punter.
No.
We have no punter. Like, and what the hell happened to Jake Camarda?
I just want to say, I don't think Camarda was this bad. Like, Gill, if you're moving on from Jake Camarda, like, Trenton Gill,
there's got to be other guys out there though.
Like, I mean this. Like, I'm joking.
There's got to be more than 32 good punters.
Yeah, like, I'm joking, but I'm serious. Like, the Bucs need a new punter, for real.
Yeah,
because that was part of the equation especially for the kickoff.
Is Mastromano eligible yet? Can we just pull him up?
Zip him out of here already, please.
Yeah, it was funny because who was it? Somebody filed the quarterback from Vanderbilt. Pavia.
Diego Pavia.
He filed a lawsuit against the NCAA for their eligibility rules.
Right.
Like, so now it's like there may not be 5 years of being eligible. You may be able to be eligible forever because everything's changing. And why, like Mastromano, why does he have to wait? Literally, he could come to the Bucs tomorrow. Talking about the FSU punter, one of the only 2 players they have on their team, the punter and the kicker. He could come to the Bucs tomorrow and be their best punter. So we're literally keeping him from making a very good living because of the eligibility rules. He's not playing for his team anymore. His team season is over. He is a free agent, but now you have the draft rules and all these things. All these things are going to be challenged in terms of eligibility. Now, the NFL has their draft rules, so they have rules, and that would supersede it, I'm sure. But I'm just saying, now we have to be more open-minded as to how many years kids can play in college and what the eligibility rules are, because that's another lawsuit they're going for. That's another story for another day. All right. So you watched this week. At first, the Florida State game. What a debacle. What an embarrassing. Like, I didn't think it could get any worse for Florida State. Have you ever seen a team fumble the football 8 times and it's not raining? It's not snowing.
And you're at home.
You're at home.
Yeah.
It's beautiful weather. You fumble the ball 8 times. You lose 5 of them. Like, how? I think they just fumbled again. Like, what a perfect analogy for the season of fumbled. Yeah. It's just a completely fumbled away season. And Florida gets a bunch of gifts. The The FSU defense played pretty good, actually. Hold Lagway to 136 yards passing, I think.
To be fair, I think it was more Lagway was just off on some of his throws.
Yeah.
But no, the defense played. It was a typical. They played well, but not well enough, and nowhere near the level to overcome what FSU does on the other side of the football, which is incomprehensible. It's I can't get over it. What we just watched was 12 games, and yes, I'm a sicko. I watched all 12 of these games.
It's unbelievable how bad an offense can be.
I literally think they only had a better offense than Kent State this year.
Yeah, and the reason is you have kids that probably couldn't even start on some high school teams playing up front, and they're big kids. They're big. They have size. The offensive line I'm talking about.
Those kids, though, were a part of a 13-1 team last year.
It just makes no sense.
It's mind-boggling.
It's mind-boggling. Jordan Travis should be the starting quarterback of the Jets because clearly he was the greatest quarterback in the history of college football.
Yeah.
To win a game behind that line, like not to mention win 13.
Yeah. I literally I don't even know what we learned about any of the I don't even know what we learned about any of the young players on Florida State's offense this year.
How do you evaluate a quarterback that as soon as he looks up, he's got three guys on?
I'll start with Kromenhoek because obviously he has the higher ceiling. He started the last couple games and Brock didn't play. Kromenhoek, he has a lively arm. I think we can see that. He's super raw. Yeah. And the fact that he's super raw and he's having to play around this he
can run a little bit too.
He can run a little bit, which we'll get to that when we talk about Gus because that's a feature of Gus's offense. He loves the running quarterback. But I can't properly evaluate him. And he had happy feet a lot. He ran into his fair share of sacks. Yeah. But at the same time, they got sacked 8 times in that game. It should have been more. They're fumbling all over the place. Nobody's open. Can't run the ball. Can't do this. Can't do that. It's just I've never been so ready for 2 seasons to be over. The Florida State season and the UCF season. Yeah. I'm so happy it's over.
So, for Florida, what a comeback for them, for Billy Napier and all these guys that were crushing him, all the Gator fans that were crushing him, they've got to eat a little bit of crow as they finish, 7-5. They won, 5 of their last 6, including 2 at home over ranked opponents, LSU and Ole Miss. And, of course, did to a terrible Florida State team what they should have done. Although they only scored 31 points, which I think they probably is not a real feather in your cap. Is that they went 5 of 6?
They won 4 of their last 6, but the only 2 losses were to Georgia,
Texas,
where they were in it until Lagway got hurt, and then they had to play Texas without Lagway and with Warner, so they had no shot.
Right. Yeah. So, Billy Napier did a hell of a job. And you look at that team, and it's freshmen and sophomores all over the place that are really good players, and I think they've got a really good future. And they are putting together one hell of a recruiting class in the past couple weeks.
It's every hour I refresh Twitter, and it's Billy's flipped somebody.
Yeah.
He's going nuts right now. Their recruiting has now gotten into the top 15. I think it's going to get inside the top 10 before this is all over with. He's putting Mike Norvell in a locker. Just taking his guys left and right.
Rod Newman and the rest of you Gator fans that had him fired so many times. I told you, give the guy a chance, let him get through the 3rd year, watch what happens this year, see what happens. I wasn't sure he was going to make it through, but I had a feeling that they were going to get better and this recruiting class was going to get better. And that's what happened.
Yeah. And the idea of having DJ Lagway for at least 3 seasons, it's got to be very comforting if you're a Florida fan. It's got to be so. I think
and they did this without their best offensive player, Trey Wilson.
Yeah. DJ when he was the quarterback went 5-1 as the starter this year. 5-1.
He's special. He's special. You're watching him, guys draped all over him. He's got some Cam Newton in him, and maybe a better passer of the football. He clearly has the maturity, leadership. He's a fantastic player. He was the number 1 player in the nation, and Billy got him. And that's why you don't fire Billy Napier. You keep him around, you keep Lagway around, and you keep building. And now, look how Florida's season has flipped. That's
and then he's got the running back who's also the freshman, Jaden Ball. Yeah. You got 2 freshmen that are just at quarterback and running back, 2 very important positions. And they're going nuts here in the second half of the season. It's man, if Billy Napier, I think Billy's now 19-19 as a head coach at Florida. So he's right now he's average on the field completely. But man, you can't question what he does off the field from a recruiting standpoint. If Billy actually improves as a head coach, and continues to move in that correct direction. You finally have some special players on these football teams now. I'm telling you, Florida, I think is going to push for 9-10 wins next year. We'll look at the schedule.
I think they're a playoff contender. I don't think there's any question about that.
Yeah.
I have to look at their schedule. I think their schedule is brutal again.
It's always going to be brutal. We know that.
But they can have. I think they're trending in that direction. You know who's not? FSU. Okay. Disgusting performance again. But after the game, and I'll be the first to say, look, you don't want people planting flags. Play better. Play harder. That's first and foremost. And FSU. Certainly, and I listen. If you saw the game, after the game, Florida players were in the end zone, dancing around, scuffing, digging up the field in the end zone, complete disrespect, stomping on it, kicking on it, dancing around because they just beat a two-win FSU team. Whatever you celebrate, I don't mind guys celebrating with their fellow players. It's just there's a nuance to this. And I'm not here to say Florida State's always been perfect in their celebrations. They're not. And I've taken them to task. There have been many, when the Willie Taggart years where they were stupid, they were dancing when they were, 30 points behind. We took them to task. It's like, what are you doing? Turnover backpacks, the most disgusting, awful. I mean, and even in the Norvell days, there were this stupid expressions on the field when you're a 3-9 football team and you're out there dancing and celebrating like you've done something against some terrible FCS team. That's just not the way you comport yourself. And I've said that many times about FSU. But I'm going to take shots at the Gators for what they did after the game. And I don't think, my first glance when I saw the Michigan thing, I was like, well, listen, if you want to fly your flag, fly your flag. You won the game. Go celebrate with your fans and fly your flag. I didn't see them trying to put it on the middle of the field. I think that's just disrespectful. I think it's disrespectful. And I think there is a fine line. And people pointed out what FSU does in the sod cemetery. Listen, this is a tradition for Florida State, and it goes back to their Seminole Indian days. And they do it very respectfully. They go to, a part of the field, not the middle of the field, as far as I've only seen. And they take up some sod and they put it in a bag and they bring it home. Sometimes it's done very discreetly by an equipment trainer, and it's not done disrespectfully in any way. And it's the same thing. If you look at those two things, if you look at those players going bananas and scuffing up the end zone and ripping up the grass, and you think that's the same as what FSU says, then you're just not being honest with yourself. You're just not. It's a different thing, and it's a time-honored tradition. So there's nuance to this. But the bottom line is, when you're planting flags, and Mike Norvell went out and grabbed the flag and threw it away, and he had some things to say afterwards. But listen, if in last year when the FSU had the Gator head, well, they got the trophy, and they went to their fans and were parading it around the field at their end, and were celebrating with their players and their fans. I think that's okay. I think there's a nuance to it. But when you want to go, are they running around the field shoving it in the face of the Gator players? If they were, that's wrong. I didn't see that, but that's wrong. And you're inviting a fight if you're doing stuff like that. If you're getting in you're going to the middle of the field, getting in people's faces and throwing the flag down, that's going to be, that in my mind is poor sportsmanship. We saw it from Michigan. We saw it and then Ohio State's getting in fights. And we saw it, I think, Auburn, Alabama. We saw the Nebraska players not even shake hands with the Iowa players before the game. I saw this. We pointed that out in some high school games this year. That is deplorable. What are you doing, coaches? Like, to me, this is and I know it sounds old school, but I don't think it's old school. I think it's respect versus disrespect. And there's been a growing, and it's not just in sports, it's throughout society, that you can just grotesquely disrespect people all the time on Twitter, everywhere. And I don't like it. And especially when it's mano-a-mano. I mean, look at the Georgia Tech game. 8 overtimes. Did you watch that game? I watched every bit of it.
Oh, yeah.
What a football game.
The UCF-Utah game was a snooze. So, yeah.
What a football game. I mean, it was unbelievable. And after the game, Kirby Smart and Brent Key came together, 2 head coaches, and they were very respectful of each other. The players were very respectful of each other. And how can you not be, man? You guys just went to war. You got to respect the guy across from you. But this whole idea, and I see, it happens in the NBA a lot, it happens all across football. You got to trash talk. Like I even see it in our basketball, our 11 and under YMCA basketball. We do at the end of the game. First of all, we do a prayer before the game about respecting coaches, officials, and your opponents, which I think is great. And maybe college football needs to be doing this. And then after the game, we do the lineup and the handshake. And I always tell my kids, no trash talk. Good game, good game, good game. And I see kids coming through going, your game is trash, dog. Your game is trash. And I'm looking at the coach going, what are you doing, bro? Like, what is this? Is what you're teaching your kids? And you got them out there on the court, like getting up in kids' faces going, your game's trash, loser. No, I'm sorry. You can call that new school. You can call it whatever you want. To me, that's trash. Respect your opponent. It's sports. It's supposed to be a sportsmanship. All right, now playing hard, yeah, all about it. But getting up in people's faces and talking trash, I got no time for that. It's nuanced. Some of it is okay. Celebrate with your friends. Celebrate with your fans. But this in-your-face stuff, it just leads, because football especially, you're on a fine line between street fighting and what the rules are. Right. And you cross that line, and it's a melee. It's because there are rules. Guys there are rules to the game. And you can't, just like in the NBA, guy going to the hole, you don't want to flagrantly foul him because he's leaving himself open. You want to run into a guy mano-a-mano? Sure, do it. You can do that all day in football. Taking cheap shots like happened to Trevor Lawrence yesterday, that's not football. That's bad sportsmanship. And it's cheap, and it's cowardly. And I don't like any of this garbage. These coaches need to get a hold of what the hell they're doing.
Well, I hate to like talk out of both sides of my mouth, but it's so like situational based for me on this topic, because on one hand, who was the original flag planting guy?
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield. And guess what? We look back on that moment and we go, man, Baker was a renegade.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it then. Don't like it now.
Well, a lot of people loved it. It's on every highlight reel you see of Baker Mayfield. It was a defining moment for him, right? So it's like that's the tricky part of it. And then also, so there were multiple of these incidences on Saturday. It started with Michigan, Ohio State. When it happened in Michigan, Ohio State, I'm like laughing at my TV. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was just crazy to me that Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt are like, we've got to get this out of the game. This is just horrible. As we sit there with a still shot on the entire thing for 10 minutes with talking, it's funny to me.
Yeah. They loved it. It's good for ratings.
Yeah, they loved it. So it's like when I saw that, I went, you know what? Michigan, Ohio State. That's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. I liked it. Okay. What I did not like about that is.
So why don't we just let them brawl? Why don't we just bring them to the middle and just go at it? Just fight. Just fight.
Well, I don't like that.
Because that's Michigan, Ohio State. Let's just fight. Why? I mean, yeah. I'm better than you. Let's go. Let's fight.
I'm not in favor of punches, okay? I'm not in favor of like punches or anything.
You start planting flags, that's what you're going to get.
You want to push, you want to shove, you want to have a little scrum. I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with then in that situation is police officers coming in and macing people.
Exactly. Pepper spray.
That's I think.
I've been pepper sprayed on the field 1996 when FSU beat Florida.
Crazy.
It's not fun.
That seems like a wild way to break up something like that involving college kids. But anyway, but then the Florida State one was weird because the second that game ended, you see a guy with the Florida flag just start running out to midfield immediately.
Pre-planned.
Yeah, like it was pre-planned, but it's so odd to me. Like you would think like head coaches ahead of time have this stuff sort of sorted out. It seems like, is this a player going rogue? By the way, Billy sounded, and I can play his audio here in a second. By the way, Billy sounded, he was pretty irritated by the whole thing. So, like, are players just going rogue?
I think, I think they are, because it's just part of the culture now. And I think it's something that needs to be addressed and reversed. And rules definitely can help. I get it. But, so we find Ohio State and Michigan $100,000. Who cares? To me, this is on the coaches. This is on the coaches to establish before the game and within your program. I don't think I didn't see this when Bobby Bowden and Spurrier were coaching. And maybe it happened. Maybe
right.
it happened, but I don't remember it.
Well, you are right. Things have changed. A lot of things have changed.
I'm tired of that excuse. All right, change them back. Change it back.
Listen, I agree.
If it changed one way, change it back.
I agree with you on that. I'm not usually a fan of the trash talking type to people. I'm really not. But I think there's like certain situations where like I'll allow it to get heated and everything, but there's always a line that you should not cross, is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
And that's why I said I hate that I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth, but that's just sort of the way I feel about it. I'm not going to condemn it completely one way, and I'm also not going to shut it down.
And listen, I think what you're saying is it's nuanced. It's very nuanced. Like, people saying, well, it's okay for FSU to rip up the grass. And I'm like, if you look at the two situations, like I put them side by side in a reel that I did. And I'm like, look at these situations. I mean, if you can't tell the difference, then you're not being honest with yourself. You're just not. If you're a Gator fan, you're not. And if the Gators said, we're going to go down in the end zone and slice up a piece and get on a knee and do it and not be jumping around like a bunch of idiots, I would say that's fine. That's what, if it ties to the time-honored tradition, is it something you've been doing for decades? No. If you want to start it, it's nuanced. I get it. What they did was completely over the top, and their coach apologized for it, and I appreciate it. Let's play the Napier audio.
Yeah, this is Billy Napier after the game.
Yes. Thank you. And Mike Norvell was he was pissed off. I wish you could have got this mad during the season at your players, though, Mike Norvell. And FSU has a responsibility to play harder and play better, for God's sakes. And I'm not just, you don't want that going down, then don't play like crap all year long like you did. So, and that's part of it. But again, have some class. Because
I was just happy to see that some of the FSU players cared enough about the logo to actually get their ass out there.
Some of them were guys that don't play, that showed a little bit like Armella showed a little bit more.
Look at that, 72.
Yeah, well, maybe he should have been playing.
He'll be in the portal in 72 hours.
Yeah,
ironically.
Yeah, but to me, that's awful, and I don't like it. I think we need to be better.
But I was also going to say though, you mentioned. It's a little bit different, but at the end, you mentioned like the hit on Trevor Lawrence yesterday, and obviously that was the big topic yesterday. I know that looks really bad and everything, and obviously the way Al-Shaair acted afterwards makes it look even worse, right? Where he's having to be like restrained by officers, and people are throwing things at him. He's throwing helmets around. But in that situation, I truly felt like this is why I don't understand why we teach these guys to sort of slide like that in dangerous situations. Like, I feel like you're already putting defensive players in enough of a bind as it is. Trevor Lawrence starts his slide, and before he even starts, Al-Shaair's already taken off. I don't know what he's supposed to do. I know it looks terrible.
You can't lead with the head. You can't lead with the crown and the helmet. I
get that. I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to, like, go nuts over, like, what he did there. We've seen that play a million times.
What I hate is guys like when Patrick Mahomes goes to the sideline and okey-dokes guys. Like he's going out of bounds, and then he okey-dokes him and comes in. Because if the players hit him anywhere close to that white line, it's a flag every freaking time. And so if he gets close to it, he shouldn't be allowed to okey-doke guys and then run for another 30 yards, which he does all the time. And then when he goes to slide and you hit him, it's a penalty. I get it. And listen, I think what Al-Shaair, again, it's nuanced. And it looked like to me he was trying to spear him. And he was trying to spear him when you can go, if he's starting his slide, I think you can touch him down. That's going to happen. It's a split-second thing. I get it. But you just got to know that you can't be taking shots at quarterbacks like that in the open field. It's just not. And I think it's dangerous to other players. And if the guy is giving himself up, he's not putting his head down and taking you on and protecting himself, you can't just lay him out. I mean, that's just awful. It's just awful. And I think he had plenty of time to lay off.
It's just more of the thing. It's like we act like these quarterbacks just cannot be touched whatsoever. and we teach them, hey, just slide. As long as you're sliding, you won't get hit. And it's like, not really.
Well, and they got to know if they're getting close to the marker and they want to get their first down, then they better go head first and be like Baker does. You better try to put your head down and go get it.
And Trevor Lawrence
take the punishment.
Trevor Lawrence is just not a small dude. I mean, he's 6'6" and got some weight on him a little bit. But he also had a shoulder injury going in. So of course, from his situation, there ain't no way he's leading in with a shoulder.
I think there's some responsibility on him to get down quicker. I do believe that. Saying. Yeah, I would agree with that. But yeah, it's just the lack of sportsmanship all over, and especially the handshake. How do you, as a major program, send your captains to the middle of the field and don't shake hands before a game? What are you doing? That's what's it, Matt Rule in Nebraska, right?
Yeah.
A program.
Who, by the way, it sounds like Nebraska DC Tony White is going to be the new FSU defensive coordinator.
Oh, is he?
He's emerged as the top candidate according to On3 and War Chant.
All right, so let's take a break here, and we'll come back on the other side, and we'll talk about the Gus Malzahn thing, and we'll get your knowledge on the Gus bus and why FSU fans should be very, very afraid of what they're about to see. We'll also get to the Rays, lots more in the NFL as well, and college football to get to. We haven't forgot about you, Bulls fans. Izzy Carter, everybody's pissed off that Izzy Carter has been hidden away. I'm like, you may have a point there. What the hell is Alex Golish doing over there? And what's going on with Byron Brown? We got questions. We're brought to you by the great folks at Third Generation Plumbing and AC. If you have any problems with your AC moving forward, they do a great job of getting out quickly. They did it right here at the studio. We had a little emergency, and they were here within 45 minutes and took care of the problem and the plumbing problem here. They do AC as well, and they're not one of those folks that are going to sell you an AC unit you don't need. They've been in business since 1995 because they're honest and they do great work. That's Third Generation Plumbing. John Rodriguez is the owner, and if it ain't right, he'll make it right. ThirdGenerationPlumbing.com. Back in 3. Old Hurricane Helene put a hurting on Tampa Bay, and for many of you, the rebuild will be a long process. You must beware of unscrupulous contractors offering up quick fixes for incredible prices. It's a scam. So go with long-standing, reputable companies like Third Generation Plumbing and AC. My friend John Rodriguez has been serving Tampa Bay since 1995 with hundreds of 5-star reviews. If you need a new AC system or any home repairs from Helene, they will work with insurance companies to get you taken care of quickly, expertly installed, of course, and a 1-year maintenance plan and 10-year warranty included on all AC units. 0% financing for 60 months. Contact them at thirdgenerationplumbing.com or 813-961-8024. That's 813-961-8024, thirdgenerationplumbing.com. So many of our Tampa Bay neighbors are finding out the hard way from Hurricane Helene that homeowners insurance does not cover flood damage. You must have flood insurance. It's a separate policy. Immediately call Italiano Insurance at 813-877-7799, and they will shop around to find the best policy before rates go up. Lock it in. Over 60% are underinsured in Florida, or you're not getting your discounts that you're entitled to. So do an insurance checkup at Italiano, and they could save you thousands of dollars. Italiano will make sure you're with a highly rated insurer, so there are no surprises in your time of need. Our hearts go out to all our neighbors devastated by Helene. These are the times we're proud to protect all the pieces of your life. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799. Hey, it's football season, and we welcome back the Gator Report every Monday and Friday, sponsored by the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves lawgroup.com. Just go to the website. You can contact them through there. Scott Jeeves is a tremendous, aggressive attorney and a big Gator fan, so we appreciate him supporting this show and, of course, your Florida Gators. They are local, they are trusted, and they get results. Whether it's personal injury or anything else, any law matter at all, it's the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves lawgroup.com. Give them a call. Tell them JP sent you.
Ciao, Paolo Tini here, owner of Caffè Paradiso, one of South Tampa premier traditional Italian restaurant. We were recently voted number 3 on Open Table list of Tampa Bay's top 10 restaurants. We're very proud of that because we take great care of preparing each dish by hand with homemade sauces, pastas, only the freshest local ingredients. You won't see the big institutional vendor trucks pulling up to our back door. We get our seafood from local vendors. Sometimes I even drive out to Topper Springs and pick out our daily catch right off those boats. So stop by and say hello. Try our traditional lasagna, the fresh veal, some of our signature dishes like capelli al granchio, that is angel hair with lump crab meat, our branzino, that is a sea bass. We're located at 4205 South McDill, and you can make a reservation on Open Table and read all the great reviews. See you soon. Ciao. Grazie.
Let's go! Right now. Back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here on this Victory Monday for the Bucs as they get a big win over the Carolina Panthers in division. Always a tough game. Maybe a win they didn't deserve, but they got it, and they're at 6-6 now. We talked a lot about that in the first part. We'll get back to a little bit of your comments there as well.
I was going to say, it's a Victory Monday for the Bucs, and then I was like, don't forget so-and-so, and I'm like, I guess we really treat the Gators because USF was a loser this week. Florida State, we already know, was a loser. UCF
all year
was a loser.
Yeah.
And Miami.
Oh, Miami.
Loser.
Up 21-0.
Yeah.
So I'm watching, keeping an eye on that game as well. And I'm just like, Miami's going to choke this away. They're going to choke this away.
It happening.
You just knew they were. And Cristobal, you're down 7. You're inside the 10-yard line with 3:46 to go. You got Cam Ward. You got Restrepo. You got big tight ends. You got big targets all over the place. And you kick a field goal when your defense hasn't stopped them all game long.
Right.
Cristobal gonna Cristobal. How can you, what are you doing? How in the world can you kick a field goal there from the 8-yard line?
Cristobal gonna Cristobal.
I mean, I don't know if that's dumber than not taking a knee. When you can take a knee and you don't take a knee and you lose the game.
Right.
I think that's the dumbest thing you could possibly do as a coach, and he's done it twice.
Yeah.
He's done it twice in his career. But this is that's got to be a close second.
Yeah, and Miami,
that's got to be a close second.
Miami's pretty much done in regards to playoff contention because even with two losses, they don't have a signature victory. They played with fire all year.
Yeah, they have 2 games. They should have lost to Cal. A targeting call that wasn't made. It was obvious.
Nonsense.
Virginia Tech nonsense. A terrible defense.
I mean, it's clear to me Cam Ward just covered up all those
everything. If Cam Ward's at FSU, maybe you could flip the 2 seasons.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. Maybe not. Because at least they have receivers that can catch the football and get open. That's just I know. I listen, as much as I want to bitch and moan about, Miami should be in as an ACC team, they shouldn't be. I just don't. No.
We're all behind the SMU Mustangs, though. I'll tell you that. How about that?
And Clemson.
Gets in. Fran Brown saves Clemson.
Yeah. And then he gave it to him after Fran Brown's doing his
hell of a job he did. 9-3 in year 1 at Syracuse.
At Syracuse, yeah, they did a great job. Maybe Syracuse should be in.
What is going on in the ACC? The national powers all can't get out of their own way, and then SMU just waltzes into the conference, getting none of the money. By the way,
Clemson. I mean, but I got to give a shout out to Lenora Sellers.
Oh, hell of a player!
Jesus Christ! And the only game they lost was when he went out.
Yeah.
That dude is untackleable. Certainly Clemson couldn't tackle him.
Right.
Nobody's been able to tackle him in the SEC either.
Right.
Should South Carolina be in?
Well, I cannot make a good faith argument, JP, unless you want to throw Alabama and Ole Miss in, because they all have the same record, and South Carolina lost to those 2 teams. So I'm sorry. That would make 0 sense to me. I know South Carolina's red hot.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see them get in there, but it just wouldn't make sense to me because then those games wouldn't matter.
Right.
Now, do I trust the committee to do anything with any sort of correct outline?
Alabama's getting in.
You think?
They shouldn't. Because their losses are bad losses.
What's going to bother me is
two of them are.
Is if SMU loses to Clemson, does that knock them completely out?
Clemson?
If SMU
that's
loses,
4 losses.
No, I'm talking about SMU.
No, I think SMU's got to go. I think. Well,
even if they lose,
if they lose, I got to go look at their schedule again. But
heads are going to roll if a 2-loss SMU that gets punished basically because they played an extra game doesn't get in, and here comes the 3-loss SEC contingencies that
which when you look across the SEC this year, there's a lot of bad non-conference. There's a lot of meh. And there's, the team, it's different now than it's ever been. You cannot look at this through the same lens. The NIL and portal have made, and you say, well, a Big 12 team went into the SEC and dominated their first year. And another Big 12 team beat the big dog in Alabama, embarrassed them. So you want to say Big 12, oh, they're not as good as the SEC. Well, the Big 12 team just went to the SEC and dominated and won the conference, especially if they win the SEC championship game.
The worst I hate to do this transitive property nonsense, but the worst Big 12 team this year was Oklahoma State. They didn't win a single game in the Big 12.
Yeah.
They beat Arkansas, who I think won like 7 games, who also beat Tennessee and was competitive.
How about that?
I think the nonsense about the conferences.
Georgia was in it with UMass.
Yes. And
with UMass.
I did want to bring this tweet up here because it was from Anthony Beck, friend of the show. And by the way, West Virginia's got an opening, and
they could do worse than hiring Anthony Beck. I'm telling you.
Anthony Beck had a tweet actually. I'm trying to find it because I retweeted. Here it is. It was after the
I retweeted it.
He said it's time to stop all the BS talk about the Big Ten and the SEC being the absolute elite conferences in college football. I don't care what anybody says. On any given day, you can beat home or away. Stop the BS talk. Any team in the Power 4 conference can beat any team in any other Power 4 conference. You can't buy wins. Coaching matters. And I truly agree. That's what's happened. It's taken a few years to sort of see it play out. But NIL, the way roster construction is right now, I think it's evened out the field a little bit. To me, that's why the SEC is the way it is. The SEC, I think, has a bunch of good teams, but there was no dominant team this year. And the floor of some of these good teams, we got to see it. Georgia, what their floor is not great.
Bad.
Alabama's floor apparently is 3 points against Oklahoma.
Bad.
Yeah, Ole Miss's floor is losing games to Kentucky. So it kind of is what it is at that point. But you saw like Indiana was able to win 11 games in a 1-year turnover.
Yeah.
And
I know it was early in the season, but Miami crushed Florida.
Yeah.
Crushed Florida, who went on a run at the end of the season. I know they might have been a different team, but it's
evolve.
still, it is. Yeah, teams evolve, but it is what it is.
But there's no dominant team in college football. I know Oregon's undefeated, but even Oregon at the beginning of the year had some close calls, right? Now they've gotten better as years gone on.
By the way, look at Ohio State. Michigan is awful.
Yeah,
they were 24-point underdog.
Yeah, and they have no
They're awful. You lost at
yards.
home to Michigan, who cannot throw the football.
Yeah,
had a wide open guy in the end zone, and he missed him. I mean, oh my Lord, there's a lot of meh. There's a lot, as you like to say, there's a lot of meh. There's no dominant team. I honestly, I think I've seen Oregon play 2 quarters. So I shouldn't say that. They score points.
You know what? From a game control standpoint, like how good all your wins look, and I know they haven't exactly played the hardest schedule. Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Notre Dame. They have the loss to Northern Illinois. You can't get away from that one.
Yeah.
But ever since then, they are just killing teams.
299 or 199-yard pick six and 103-yard pick six against USC. Yeah. Notre Dame. I don't know how you don't have them as the top contender right now. I really, but they're playing the best football of any team in America.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to USF and UCF. Well, first of all, let's talk a little Gus Malzahn.
Okay.
I think a lot of FSU folks are interested in this because I went back and I said his offenses the last 2 years or 3 years were 16th, 8th, and 16th in total yards, a little bit lower in scoring. But Gus has always been, an offensive guy. And as I like to say, he coached Nick Marshall, a converted cornerback, to almost a national championship against FSU, that Auburn team. They had a lot of really good defensive players, but he's had success, especially offensively. Why should I not be excited about Gus Malzahn? As not a head coach. He's just got to call the ball plays. And, for me, first of all, that says Mike's not calling them. and that's good because that'll help him be a better head coach, hopefully. And he's got a sounding board in Gus. I like the more experienced coaches. He's seen it all. He called the plays. I don't, he's not bringing a quarterback with him, which would have been nice. I don't know if Luke Kromenhoek necessarily fits his quarterback model. So why am I not? And so many FSU fans are like you. They're not thrilled about this.
Let me be. I watched every snap of the Gus Malzahn era at UCF. I covered the team this year very closely. The numbers can be deceiving. Okay, first of all, UCF racked up like 1,400 total offensive yards in the first 2 games this year. Why was that? Because they played New Hampshire and Sam Houston State. I throw them out completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't care.
As they should be.
Let me show you what happened this year when they played real teams. They were down by 21 points to TCU in the 3rd game of the season, and if not for a 4th quarter offensive flurry, they lose that game. They scored 21 points against Colorado. They scored 13 against Florida. They scored 13 against Cincinnati. They scored 35 against Iowa State, but they had 2 pick sixes in that game, so they really scored 21. They scored 24 against BYU, but 10 of that came in the last 5 minutes in garbage time when BYU had their 3rd stringers out there. They exploded for 56 against Arizona, but Arizona's horrible. They scored 21 against West Virginia, who just fired their head coach, and then they finished it off by scoring 14 against Utah. Yeah,
they had major quarterback issues this year. He tried to go to KJ Jefferson.
They went through 4 quarterbacks this year. KJ Jefferson, not it. Jakari Brown, not it. EJ Colson, who was the 17-year-old true freshman who reclassified, the highest UCF quarterback commit ever. They went to him right after KJ. He was put in for 2 drives. A senior running back fumbled on both those drives, and EJ was blamed and pulled, and then never saw the field again until garbage time against the Utah game. And then an hour after the game in which he throws his first touchdown pass, he enters the transfer portal. Blatant quarterback mismanagement all season long. The 4th-string quarterback ended up being the best one, but Gus never wanted him in there, and anytime he made a mistake, Gus was chewing him out on the sidelines. You talk about the fact that he has a good reputation with quarterbacks. Cam Newton being one of them. Cam Newton was already ready-made when he got to Auburn. It's hard to screw that guy up. Nick Marshall was great, but after that, Gus Malzahn's final 6-7 years at Auburn, he couldn't find the quarterback. He had 1 year with Stidham, but even that wasn't a clean operation. Bo Nix got better when he got away from Gus Malzahn. And then here at UCF, he started 8 quarterbacks in 4 years. He could never find the guy, and he let 3 or 4 quarterbacks who all ended up starting games for other programs, decent programs too, and he let them all go to the transfer portal. And then obviously Colson, to me, is the biggest indictment. That was the last straw for me with Gus Malzahn, was what happened after the game on Friday night, him entering the portal, how you mismanaged that. So I don't think he's this quarterback guru guy.
Could Colson be bound for FSU?
I don't.
Well, he doesn't want to play for Gus.
I don't see it as a fit because he's going to be 18 years old next year. You already have Kromenhoek.
And he doesn't like Gus.
If FSU brings in a transfer quarterback, in my opinion, they're probably going to bring in an experienced guy that has a resume to try to go with Luke, who's the young guy.
Yeah.
So I don't see Colson. A lot of people are going to mention Tommy Castellanos because he was at UCF under Gus, but he entered the portal because there seems to be some behind the scenes stuff there, and obviously
Bill O'Brien.
With him and Bill O'Brien at Boston College, but even at UCF, because Gus managed to burn his red shirt in his true freshman year when he was the 3rd quarterback on the depth chart. That somehow happened, and he went to Boston College. He basically quit on his team at Boston College, which you don't like. So I'm not in favor of that, and I think FSU could and should do better. But yeah, Gus Malzahn offense, as we were watching it this year, it just felt old. It felt very stagnant. And the one thing I will say that scares me, and it should scare everybody, is Mike Norvell's offense is a little bit of a spinoff of the Gus Malzahn offense, because let's go down memory lane. Gus Malzahn was the OC and quarterbacks coach at Tulsa, 2007, 2008. Guess who was on that staff as a GA? Mike Norvell. Gus Malzahn and Mike Norvell have known each other for a long time. They both have a lot of respect for one another.
Yeah, they're good friends.
Last year when Florida State got snubbed from the playoff, Malzahn was asked about that, and he had a very impassioned speech of why Florida State should have gotten in and why he felt so bad for Mike Norvell.
And he was 100% right.
Exactly. This feels to me like a hire that you do when your back's against the wall and you need people that you can trust, and you go the safe option and you bring in Gus Malzahn because you know what you're getting. It's a similar offense. Your guys don't have to learn crazy new terminology and stuff like that. That to me is what you do. But I'm just saying.
What about recruiting? I mean, he brought some good classes to UCF.
He brought some really good classes to UCF, which this is more of him as a head coach issue, which you won't have as an offensive coordinator issue, is that those classes never actually really saw the field. He was very high on the transfer portal and very heavy on that, kind of how Florida State has been.
Yeah.
So recruiting, we'll see. I think the best thing that you're going to get with Gus Malzahn is who he's bringing in as a staff around him. UCF's offensive line coach for the last few years has been Herb Hand.
Yeah.
Herb Hand's a veteran. He's been at Penn State under James Franklin. He was at Texas under Tom Herman. He was at Vanderbilt under Franklin as well. And he's been with Gus at Auburn and now at UCF. He's highly respected, very experienced. The crap that you saw with UCF or FSU's offensive line this year
would never happen.
Is not going to happen if he comes to Florida State, as I think it's going to happen.
That's a huge pickup then, because they need somebody to develop an offensive line, because that's their biggest issue.
FSU is going to lose all their starting offensive linemen this year. UCF center an hour ago, Caden Kittler, who has like 2 or 3 years of eligibility left, he entered the portal this morning. I would probably expect FSU to go after him. He's rock solid at center. He's definitely an upgrade over Mo Smith. That's me assuming that Herb Hand's going to come with Gus. So I think Herb Hand actually might be the best guy that you were.
And does he recruit offensive line very well? Sounds like he does.
Well, that's the one thing. Herb Hand is not probably the greatest recruiter. Okay. So
FSU's got, at least they've got 2 4-star offensive linemen still left in the class. So hopefully that's something that has to be job one.
What you're trying to hang your hat on is the fact that Gus looked like he was exhausted coaching in the modern day of college football as a head coach. Okay?
I get it.
And now that he's going to be an OC and he gets to strictly call plays, maybe that helps that he doesn't have to deal with all the other stuff. It's just calling plays, which once upon a time you could just get away with doing as a head coach. And that changed. But listen, Gus Malzahn also gave the play calling duties away 3 different times, including this year, by the way, during his time at UCF, because it wasn't working out. So I think there's pros and cons to it. But if you're strictly looking at, is it going to be better than what you saw this year? Yeah, it is. Yeah. I just don't know if it's going to get to that level that you're looking for.
Well, yeah, anything's an improvement at this point for FSU, I'm just kind of middling on the hire. I kind of like it for the reasons I mentioned, but it's certainly not a great up and comer that has great new ideas and is a great recruiter in Florida.
The one thing I will tell you, the passing offense, we'll see how that figures out, because I mentioned the quarterbacks. The one thing Gus Malzahn offenses always do really well is they run the football.
Yeah, which I like.
And if he brings Herb Hand with him, I tell you what, they're going to fix that. They're going to fix that this offseason. FSU, if they want to get back to their identity, and that's running the football, which is why this year went awry, because they couldn't do that, I think he'll help tremendously in that. In the passing game, we'll see. Probably going to be very dependent on who the quarterback is.
Okay. And Warchand is reporting that Tony White from Nebraska, who runs kind of a interesting 3-3-5 defense, is the leading candidate for the FSU defensive coordinator job. He's highly regarded. Their defense last year was ranked 14th nationally, and this year, what'd you say it was 8th?
Top 20.
Top 20. So typical top 20 defenses. So that's good. Obviously, he doesn't have any connections in Florida, which is a problem in terms of recruiting. So that's going to be an issue. I wanted to see them hire some guys that had ties to Florida and recruiting in the state of Florida. And obviously Gus does, but this guy does not. So they've got to address recruiting coordinator or something else in a different way, because if this is indeed the guy, but he brings good credentials. He's 43 years old, I believe. He's been at Syracuse. He's been at Nebraska, Arizona State. He's been mentioned for head coaching jobs, but hasn't gotten any.
And he was making I think he was making $1.6 million this year.
Yeah, they gave him an extra $600,000 to stick around last year because his defenses have been so good in Nebraska with Matt Rule.
I'm going to assume that FSU is probably going maybe north of that.
Yeah, they'll have to.
Probably, I would assume
$2 million defense coordinator.
Yeah. I think, period. I mean, it's not going to be there's no way it's going to be as bad as what you saw last year. It can't get worse. It can't. Adam
Fuller was never a defensive coordinator at this level. He came from Memphis with Mike. And it just, it's just one of those nepotism hires that I call it professional nepotism. When you're hiring your buddies that you're familiar working with, and I get it. It worked for a while, but after a while it's exposed, just like, Alex Atkins being a Charlotte coach. After it works for a little while and then you're exposed. So this staff is going to get a major upgrade of much better coaches that hopefully will develop these players in practice and maybe change Mike's practices, which I think most people feel are pretty soft and pretty inferior from I haven't seen a lot of it, but from the guys I trust that do, they think it's a joke.
And on a personal note, I shout out Mike Norvell for saving UCF's ass here, because UCF, I think they wanted to get rid of Gus Malzahn, but he had a $13 million buyout that they could not pay. And from what I understand, this has been in the works, obviously, for weeks.
Kind of a classy move by Gus.
Yeah, I have a theory that they probably went to him at some point this season and said, hey, I think they all recognized it just wasn't working out. It had hit that point where it's just like, listen, I don't think we can go forward with this, but we can't pay your buyout. I think Gus did the right thing. I think they gave him permission to seek other jobs.
Maybe they gave him a little settlement.
Yeah, we'll see how all that comes out, but UCF avoids having to pay the $13 million buyout. I don't think Florida State had to pay anything to get Gus either. So I think it's a win-win for everybody involved.
Yeah, well, I think, for FSU, change is a must, and I think he comes with pretty damn good credentials. You can't ignore the resume. It is what it is. And you hire up-and-comer, you just don't know. You just don't know, because they're probably doing it at a smaller school, not at a major level.
Yeah, because
there's a lot more unknowns.
Yeah, before the Gus stuff came out, which was just out of nowhere, it seemed like FSU was probably zeroing in on the UNLV offensive coordinator, whose name escapes me at the moment.
But he's going to get a head coaching job.
Yeah, he might get a head coaching job. But
take his quarterback with him.
Yeah, but that was the name before Gus.
And Chris Wenke's name was out there, Georgia Tech, who must have had 15 2-point plays on his sheet for that game the other night.
Literally.
Or not. And I like Chris. He's a friend of the show, and I've known him for a long time. I think he's doing a good job at Georgia Tech. Absolutely. So I wouldn't have minded, bring that Heisman Trophy home. There's some good stuff there, but Gus has a great resume. Yeah. So I'm okay with that. All right. Before we hit our last break, we're probably going to go a little over here. USF just gets curb stomped by a 4-8 Rice team in front of nobody. I mean, that was just pathetic to watch. I saw some of the highlights, and they're down, 27-7 at the half, gave up 290 yards in the first half to E.J. Warner, who was 27-42 for 430 yards. I mean, just the defensive numbers were awful. They get outgained 550 to 431 by Rice. Izzy Carter comes in at the end of the game when Bryce Archie gets hurt and throws a couple of touchdown passes, and everybody's like, what the hell? Where's this guy been? And Byron Brown, as you said, you think he's had a broken leg all this time anyway, was never going to play, but Alex was always playing cat and mouse with him coming back to play. So now the fan base is in an uproar. Why don't you tell us what's going on with Byron Brown?
I don't know the specifics of what exactly is injured or anything like that. All I'll know is I was told weeks ago that the injury was far worse than what people think. And obviously coaches don't like to reveal that stuff. And so you hear reports of, he's practicing, he's close. I don't think Byron was really ever close to coming back.
Yeah, I don't know why you play that game. I just teams, I guess teams have to prepare for both quarterbacks, but I think everybody knew that he wasn't going to play, right? I mean, I don't know. That just feels a little sophomore-ish to me to be playing that game.
Yeah, and so USF's going to have one more game, obviously. They're going to play in some bowl game. It's not going to be a great bowl game.
Boca Raton Bowl, or
it might be
played in.
It might be something like that. But it seems like it just felt like maybe USF was beyond losing a game like this in your own conference to a team that's just terrible and Rice.
Yeah, playing out the string. Yeah, you've been playing so well. You've been running the football, and your defense has played pretty good.
Yeah, 430 yards passing for E.J. Warner.
Yeah, I mean,
goodness gracious.
So what happens with Byron Brown, and is Izzy Carter the future? I don't. You can't. It's garbage time. He throws a couple of touchdown passes. He looks great. He's got people have been wanting to see him. I'm just talking about from what I read on Twitter, because I don't go to practices. I've watched the games. Bryce Archie is serviceable. If I had somebody else that was more dynamic, I think I would have tried him. Goalish sees a lot more than we do and knows who's ready and who's not. So you got to kind of, trust your head coach that he knows what he's doing. So I don't know. It just seems like that was a loss we didn't see coming. And when you go back and you look at all of USF's games under Alex Golish, where's the signature win? Do they have any wins over winning programs?
I mean, last year, Syracuse didn't have a quarterback in that bowl game,
right?
And they pretty much blew them out as they should have. Maybe there's not a signature win, but listen, this is still a program you have to understand that was the worst. Like they were like the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, they were
when it came into
they're where FSU
football.
is now.
Yeah, they were pretty bottom of the barrel. They couldn't even buy a win at all. Like Jeff Scott, how many games did Jeff Scott win again?
One game in the last 2 years, one FBS win.
Right. So I don't really have a good gauge for where USF fans' heads are. I think obviously everybody wants to have higher expectations, but I think winning 7 games in year one, having a chance to win 7 again, it makes it feel like, okay, did we really make progress? But you'd like to think theoretically if Byram was in there, you probably would win more games. So I think that's fair. I still think generally they're in an okay spot.
No, they're building and their roster is better. I think there's no question. I think they're a better football team this year. They went toe to toe with Alabama and Miami. That's something. Coach doesn't want moral victories, but to me that means something. So I think they took a step forward this year. I think it's important for them to win a bowl game.
Yeah, I
think it's important for them to put another stamp on it and get those 15 practices or so to help your team. Does Izzy Carter start the bowl game? Does Byron Brown start the bowl game? Do they go into the portal?
Yeah, and what's Byron's future here? Because I think it's a bit more murkier now than it was last year.
I would agree. And UCF have any idea who their next head coach is going to be?
I have a inclination that it's going to be G.J. Kinney, who is the head coach at Texas State at the moment. He's 35 years old, very bright offensive mind. Texas State had the number 6 ranked offense in college football this year. They won 15 games over the last 2 years. They won 15 games total the 7 years prior to G.J. getting there. G.J. was the OC under Gus in 2021 for a year. So he's been here. He was highly respected. Some of the players came out in support of him after Gus resigned as the head coach. I'm leaning towards it's probably going to be G.J. Kinney, but you can never count out John Sumrall at Tulane, who's done a really good job.
Outstanding
Barry
job.
Odom, the job he's done at UNLV over the past 2 years, I'm sure, as a candidate. So it's probably going to be a mix.
And the quarterback job is open. So UNLV with the young quarterback who might follow him, right? He does have, I think I read that he got a quarterback that would follow him.
Probably.
Yeah. So into the Big 12.
Yeah.
So it's an attractive job.
I mean,
listen, it has to be.
There's 4 Power 4 openings right now: UCF, North Carolina, West Virginia, Purdue. If I had to rank those, I'd probably say North Carolina I'd give the slight edge to on UCF. I don't think it's crazy big of an edge, but I would give North Carolina the edge. I think UCF's 2, West Virginia's 3, and then Purdue obviously is going to be 4.
Anthony Beck would fight you on that.
I know, and I say that as West Virginia has beat UCF 2 years in a row. So
right,
but I still think
West Virginia is.
I think you have way more.
They got a big fan base. They got a bigger stadium. They're in a big.
I'm just saying. I think it's easier. It's easier to recruit to Orlando.
I agree.
Than to Morgantown.
I agree.
And you're in the state of Florida, and I think if you get the right guy in place, UCF has a really big potential.
I agree. I would agree with all that, and that makes UCF a better job in towards a potential of winning something.
Right.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, we'll take our final time out here, and then we'll come back, and we got to get into this Rays thing. We saved it for the last. The letter, the letter says, no, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. And away we go. So we'll break that down for you, and a little bit more on around the NFL. We'll go around the NFL and check out some of those stories as well. We're brought to you by the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source. Hope you got that gift card match for Black Friday last week to get you $1,000, and they'll match it. Sorry you missed out on that. It's over. They'll bring back something for Christmas, but hopefully you got that match. But you know where to go. If you're thinking about popping the question for a Christmas, it's the Gold and Diamond Source. And it becomes a trust thing, folks. There's a lot of lab-created diamonds out there. It's hard to tell the difference, but there's a difference. And you want a real diamond. You don't want to be giving a fake diamond to your girl. That's not a way to start it off. So get a real diamond at the Gold and Diamond Source. 3800 Omerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. Back in 3. Hey, folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. Hey, JP here for the Gold and Diamond Source. There's been a lot of talk about lab-grown diamonds. Oh, they're just like the real thing. No, they're not. They're not the real thing. They're lab-grown. They're fake. You want to give your honey a fake diamond? Not a good way to start off the relationship, folks. Take my word for it. Get the real thing, and no place better to shop than the Gold and Diamond Source. And remember, if you shop anywhere else, you don't know if it's real. You don't know what you're buying. The Gold and Diamond Source has been in business for over 40 years. Julie and Steve Weintraub, great benefactors in our community. You know it's real. It's the only place to shop. And if you're planning to purchase for the holidays, don't forget to take advantage of our layaway offer at the Gold and Diamond Source. You can reserve your favorite piece now and pay in easy installments, making your holiday shopping stress-free. As always, we offer up to 5 years interest-free financing for just $84 a month when you finance $5,000. It's the only place to shop for the holidays. It's the Gold and Diamond Source. 3800 Ulmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Hey Tampa Bay sports fans, this is two-time LPGA major champion Jane Geddes here. After winning the US Open and 10 other LPGA events, I wanted to try something completely different. So I came right off the top turnbuckle and landed in the crazy world of WWE. And yes, you heard that right. That's WWE. Working for the Vince McMahon as the VP of Talent Relations for the company. Now, though, I want to work for you. Everything I've done in my life, I've done with incredible passion. And now I've turned my focus to leading the best real estate team in Tampa Bay, the Geddes Gordon Group with Keller Williams in South Tampa. If you're looking for a new home, an investment property, or looking to sell your current home, we will give you major championship level service. When you choose Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of our inner circle, like family. So if you're looking for a few golf tips or a golf course view, we're going to stripe it right down the fairway. Call me at 813-485-6808 or go to gettysgordongroup.com, or again, give me a ring at 813-485-6808.
Let's go! Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at Cafe Paradiso. Paulo Tini over there is the proprietor of the number 3 ranked restaurant in the Open Table's top 10. If you have not had their traditional Italian food, like the branzino, you don't know what you're missing. It's unbelievable. Right there on South McDill. Get a reservation for the holidays when your family's in town and go over there and have a great traditional Italian dinner. The service is impeccable. The food is fantastic, and the prices are reasonable. Where do you find that anymore? Cafe Paradiso, that's where you find it, right there on South McDill. Go to Open Table and get your reservation now. All right, so the saga continues with the Rays as, of course, the county put out a letter last week telling the Rays to tell us whether they're going to terminate the deal in a legally binding letter, not just in the media and throwing stuff back and forth. And so he gave them through a December 1st deadline to do so. So the Rays responded with the letter this weekend. And to me, basically what the Rays are saying is it's a little bit of he said, she said. The smoking gun comment by Commissioner Scott, where Brian Auld told him that he was doing everything he can to keep the deal together and that their revenue projections were down and their costs were going up. And he basically asked them if he wanted out of the deal and felt that they wanted to get out of the deal. The Rays are saying that's a lie. That's a lie. He mischaracterized that conversation. Shocking development. He said, we disagree with the characterization of the conversation between Commissioner Scott and Brian Auld. The conversation primarily concerned the near-term challenges to our business given the damage to Tropicana Field, as well as the dynamics related to the location of our home games in 2025. Brian Auld did not waver from our commitment to this new ballpark project. Okay, well, I don't think we have a recording of the conversation. That's a he said, she said. Who do you want to believe? The Rays, who have been disingenuous at every turn, in my opinion. Go back to the Tampa deal, the two-city deal, all of this stuff. We never want to. Well, it's not a major league city, St. Petersburg. We can never play here. Blah 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 blah. Oh wait, you're giving us all that money? We love St. Petersburg. Who do you want to believe? That's up to you guys. I think it's self-evident, and that's a key smoking gun comment, because that's where things started to unravel. And the county said, okay, well, why don't you step forward? And don't forget something else that Commissioner Scott said. In that conversation, the reason he called Brian Auld was he wanted the Rays to make a public statement of commitment to the area. He wasn't asking for any renegotiation. He said, can you just come out and say, listen, we wanted to stay in Pinellas, but that ballpark wasn't major league ready, so we couldn't do it. So Major League Baseball basically made us, or said we have to go to Tampa, and our commitment to the stadium is still real, whether we play in Tropicana Field or not. It's still, and you know what? Brian Auld didn't do that. So you can say whatever you want about what happened on that conversation, but what Commissioner Scott asked him to do, to make a public statement, he refused to do. Why didn't he do that? Because they wanted out of the deal. That's why, in my opinion. And in Commissioner Scott's opinion, and all the commissioners feel the same way. And I think a lot of the city council people feel the same way now as well. Because guess what? The Rays didn't put in this letter, a termination letter. It was not a termination letter. It was a lot of mushy arguments about how they want to basically wait till the county and the city kill the deal so they can still have rights to the real estate. If they send a termination letter, and this is, in my opinion, in talking to the legal experts, listening to the county attorneys talk in their meeting and the city people talk in their meeting, it's pretty evident that if the Rays don't terminate the deal, they can still have rights to the windfall of the real estate redevelopment, which could be, depending on who you talk to, from $600 million to over $1 billion in what they could do there. So that the Rays could get. So that being what it is. And then the rest of the letter, honestly, is basically saying, look, I know that you guys haven't missed any hard deadlines of the agreement, but you are not, by delaying the bonds, you made our costs go up, a delivery date go up, and we don't want to pay the overcosts anymore. Well, wait a minute. You agreed to pay the cost overruns. And so now when you're asked to do it, you don't want to do it. That you don't have a legal leg to stand on. And they kind of prove that in the second part of their letter, where they say, and I'll read from the letter here. It said, while as a technical matter, under the agreements, there are longer outside dates for a variety of conditions to be satisfied, basically saying no deadlines have been missed. The Rays have always made it clear that the viability of the project depended on having certainty about the project's approval and funding prior to the 2024 November elections. Well, that may have been what you thought, but that's not what's in the agreement. And any legal scholar will tell you, you can think all you want, but if it's not in the agreement, if it's not what you negotiated, and you negotiated basically everything you wanted and got, then it's not binding. They continue. The Rays were willing to advance the project for a 2028 delivery, knowing that Pinellas County's final approval would take place before the election. And they put in bold, we would not have gone forward with the project if a future Pinellas County Commission had the ability to revoke the approval we all celebrated in July, or to unilaterally delay the project's completion into 2029. First of all, their month delay, or maybe even weeks delay, should not affect the delivery of the overall ballpark. And I know they've said this, and the reason they've said it all along is because they wanted to ram this deal through and not get it properly vetted. And we got to get it done now. We got to get this thing approved now. We got to get this thing approved now, because they didn't want the deal to be properly vetted, especially in the media. Because now that everybody knows what the deal looks like, everybody's like, nah, this is a shit deal. It's terrible. We've been telling you that forever. But now, once this really got out into the media, and it wasn't, all these false narratives that have been created by a lot of the mainstream media, now that they're revealed by the city council and the county council and some other outside corporate media, everybody sees what this is, and it's as a land grab. And I when that deal was first done, and I heard the Rays are agreeing to pay $700 million plus copper overruns, that was the first red flag to me. I'm like, there's no way they're going to build this stadium. Now, why would a guy who wouldn't even commit $150 million to a project in Tampa, which was a much better deal, now suddenly be saying, "Oh, I'm going to pay $700 million cash, and I'm going to handle the cost overruns"? That is so anti-Rays and anti-Stu Sternberg. That's where the first red flag to me is like, there's no way this deal's going through. This is a land grab. And that's what it's turned out to be. And the fact that the Rays won't terminate the deal, even though they say it in the media, they won't actually send a termination letter, is because then they would probably, and these lawyers don't even know this is all headed to court, by the way. They don't know. They can't give a clear answer, which I think is crazy. How can you not have I think if the Rays terminate the deal, there's a clear answer. They get no redevelopment rights.
That is in the article here from Colleen Wright of the Tampa Bay Times. To me, this whole thing can be summarized in this one sentence. Unless the Rays back out with an official termination letter, the team gets to keep 65 acres of prime public land. That's period. That's what's happening here. This is
which is what I told you they always were going to do.
This is a good old-fashioned standstill right now and a standoff, basically, of who blinks first. It's a game of chicken. And the county is daring the Rays to do something, and the Rays are daring the county to do something. Neither wants to budge. Neither wants to be the reason for why this deal ultimately dies. And the Rays have a lot at stake for this deal dying by virtue of them being the ones to do it. So that's what's happening here. That's it.
And as Richie Floyd, who we had on this program last week, the city council member, warned the council that this is what private companies do, is they can go outside, the agreement and put the pressure on the city and county, because the city and county can't just let Tropicana Field sit there and that acreage just sit there. The Rays got all the time they want. They can play in Steinbrenner Field or do something else with their team. They got all the time they want. They're good for the next year. The county and the city got to do something with that land. And this is what I've been talking about for years, folks. Stu Sternberg has never been a good partner in this. The Rays have not been a good partner. They could have got the deal done in Tampa, which would have allowed Mayor Kreisman to redevelop that glorious piece of property with a Moffitt Cancer Center hub, convention center, all retail, and all these other things that would have given folks of St. Pete real meaningful jobs, not seasonal minimum wage jobs, meaningful jobs and meaningful heads in beds for way more than baseball ever would have. And that could have been done by now, except the Rays have held that up. They've held up Tampa, the redevelopment in the areas where Daryl Shaw wanted to build. They held up the development in Tropicana Field site, which should already be done. And now they're trying to take the real estate and not build the stadium, which I told you they were going to do from the very beginning. And I wonder how the city council and the county council, when they were shaking the pom-poms and loving Stu Sternberg, I said, it ain't happening. It ain't happening. And I wonder how they feel about him now. Are they still and Chair Peters, I think, did a very great plea, an impassioned plea about she still wants to go ahead with the deal. And I think she's probably rethinking that because she thinks it's going to be a great deal for the county. And it could be, if you had a great partner that really had your best interest in mind, it could be all that, but it was never going to be all that. And by the way,
I don't even hold anything against Brian Auld. I really don't. I don't really hold anything against Matt Silverman.
They're doing their jobs.
Give me the head here. Where's he at? He hasn't said anything.
Nope.
He's not public. He's not visible.
Nope.
He hasn't attended a single of these meetings.
He's been to some of the meetings.
Well, none of the recent ones.
None of the recent ones. But he doesn't. No, he lets Brian and Matt do all the dirty work.
It doesn't sound like he's the one communicating.
And I feel sorry for them.
It doesn't sound like he's the one communicating. And you know what it is? He's letting them take the bullets.
Of course. And that's what they get paid for, and they get paid a lot of money.
And I see a lot of Rays fans going after, like, it's not just Stu, it's Auld and Silverman too.
No.
I mean, they're taking orders, basically. You think that they're smart people. It's
like Chris Latvala said, and I agree with him 100%. He deals with Mike or Brian and Matt. And says, I believe those two guys have Tampa Bay's best interest in mind in the county and Pinellas and City. He said, I don't feel that way about Stu. And I've echoed that for a long, long time. I think, Brian's been a good soldier, and he's having to do the bidding because that's his job, and he gets paid handsomely to do it. And so does Matt. But I think, and I know there have been times, and Matt and I, when we used to talk, would tell me he'd get frustrated with some of the things that Stu says and does. I've told you that, and I still believe that. But this is where we're at. And hopefully Major League Baseball, and I really do think something is cooking in Tampa. And I can't tell you the specifics of it. I've just talked to a lot of people. The momentum, there seems to be something there. And I think it revolves around Major League Baseball finally having enough of this bull crap and saying, we're going to do this deal. We're going to get it done. Get Stu out of there. He's been the impediment. And once that happens, I think you're going to see things move pretty quickly in Tampa. And I know there's a lot of questions about the money and the Bucs and all these other things. And I thought, when we had Commissioner Hagan on, he answered those very well. There is money for both, but it's not an endless checkbook. And there has to be partnerships. And the Rays and the Lightning, and hopefully any local new owner working together as a partnership, a private partnership like we see in Arlington, like you see in Atlanta, all these other stadium deals that get done with willing owners who are looking to partner, not take, and it gets done. So I sense that's where it's at. I'm not reporting it. I'm not saying that's definitely what's going to happen. This is my sense. This is my opinion, what's happening and moving forward.
Yeah, I need the Rays to just sign somebody. I need something else to talk about when it comes to
this. That's not happening either. They're dumping. They're going to continue to dump salary. What free agent? A free agent now would I want to play in Steinbrenner Field. That's going to be kind of cool.
To be fair, nobody's really signing right now.
Yeah.
Unless you're, Blake Snell.
So is he going to be with Tyler Glass now in the same staff? If we actually, people say it's ridiculous, but if we had an owner that was really wanted to win.
Listen, as much as I want to get frustrated with where things are in baseball and the Dodgers taking all these players, I would kill to have an owner that had pockets
deep
like
pockets,
that.
Right.
And I understand they're in a unique spot. You could have any owner of the LA Dodgers and you could probably do the same thing. So I get it. It's unique. And the fact that they still have a chance to get Juan Soto is just absolutely
But there's
nuts.
Look at San Diego spends $270 million. They're the 26th largest market.
Yeah,
so it's not market size. It's having a willing owner, and Stu has plenty of money. He's made plenty of money on this team. The $500 million that's in that other company, according to the lawsuit, allegedly, he's always had the money, but he doesn't want to spend it. It's just if you're a Rays fan and your ire is anywhere else, in my opinion, and again, I have nothing personal against Stu. I'm sure he's a fine man, and I just have to take umbrage with the way he's handled this team.
And the way they talk about how they can't afford to take on overruns, they can't afford this, they can't afford that, they're going to lose revenue with this. It doesn't tell me they're going to be typically busy and adding players this offseason.
No sooner was that deal done than Brian All was talking about his $700 million mortgage, and they can't spend money on players because they have a $700 million mortgage. Did you think it was going to? When the deal was getting done, it was like, oh, this is going to give us financial security and all the more revenue that we could put back into the team. I'm like, you never put it back into the team when you had it. Why should we believe this? But the city council, we're reeling them in.
And again, you have to look at the landscape of, forget the baseball, or the entirety of baseball. Look at your division right now.
Yeah.
Look at your division. We know the Yankees are going to continue to do their thing and spend money.
Spend.
3 of the teams that are in on Juan Soto are in your division.
Yep.
The Red Sox, the Yankees, and the Blue Jays.
And Baltimore's going to get their pitchers back.
And Baltimore is, right now in their window of competing. So to me, this is the hardest it's been. I know the Rays have done a really good job.
The Red Sox are on the come.
Exactly. The Rays have done a really good job of competing through all that, but I feel like right now it's sort of like the hardest it's been.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy, they need new ownership with deep pockets. Boy. The one thing I do agree with Romano about, we need a hero. We need a hero to step up. And I think there's people available. And I know there's willingness in Tampa and Hillsborough County to get something sensible done that's sensible for the taxpayers, not this ridiculous boondoggle that this has always been in St. Pete. And once you have a fair deal, it's a deal that everybody can win. Things pop up like hurricanes and things You work together to figure it out. You don't go off you don't call your lawyers immediately and see how you can exploit the situation to your benefit. But that's exactly what you expected to happen. And what did happen, and that's why we're here. So where does it go from here? To the courtroom. That's where it's going. Nothing's going to get done in St. Pete, and hopefully something. And if something does open up in Tampa, then there's a way out for everybody. And right now, I'm excited about this. We got baseball at Steinbrenner Field. We got baseball at Steinbrenner Field outside. We got lots of games in March, April, and May, and I can't wait to be there. Take them in as a fan, and hopefully watch a Rays team that beefs up its offense a little bit and has the best pitching staff in the league and wins games. And it's an exciting atmosphere at Steinbrenner Field. It's packed. It's going to be the first time we really had that and a chance to really show how much passion we have for baseball. Just don't triple the price of the tickets still, all right? Still waiting on ticket prices. All right. Anything else we forgot? We didn't really get to the NFL, but you can get that on other shows.
Yeah.
Or about Tampa Bay.
We hit as local as we could. I mean, I guess the Lightning.
I don't think it's as bad as it looks sometimes, but I'm still wary of what this team is and how they could be. And Kucherov didn't post the other night. I don't think it's a long-term injury, but they just seem to lack some defensive stuff at times. And
I just
the power play is getting better. I like they're getting that sorted out.
There's just there's such a common theme in their losses, and it's puck management. Cooper has mentioned it a million times, and I'm just waiting for like the light bulb to click with this team. And it did for once against Colorado when they were just shooting everything and it was going in. Maybe that was a product of Colorado's goalies being historically terrible this year.
Yeah.
But they just seem to like always be looking for the splash play and trying to overpass too much. And that's been a common theme. And they give the puck away and it goes back the other way and it's going in the back of their net right now. So, right now they're an average hockey team, but it's still somewhat early, but you've got to find a way to get some additional scoring outside of, 5 guys, which it seems to be every time. But
right. And AC Mont, I think, is coming on. Atkinson had a goal the other night, as 2 recently. So maybe there's a little bit more depth scoring coming. And don't forget, they're out without Nick Paul, without Chafee, and without Cooch the other night. So, hopefully they get some guys back, but I think, they're going to have some flexibility at the deadline. So they can add some pieces that they need. So they're still in playoff position. They haven't played themselves out of it. So they're still fine when that goes. So I still think they're heading in the right direction. They're just not the dominant team we're used to. I think Vassie's been great. He's been fantastic. He had a couple bobbles the other night, I thought, but for the most part, he's been great. And I'm still very bullish on the Lightning. We'll see where they need a run though. They need like a rip off like 8 of 10, and just play some really good, consistent hockey. So we'll see. They're not playing until Thursday again, so they've got some time off, heal up a little bit.
Yeah, after a weird part in the schedule where they fly to Nashville and then fly right back to play the best team in the Atlantic Division.
Yeah, that was a bit of a schedule loss, really, the other night. Yeah. That was a tough one, especially with the injuries you had. So, and they still outshot them 41-29. They still had more chances, and it was just, as Brian Engbaum said on our postgame show, is the quality of the shots. The quality of the shots were so much better, and that's why you lose. It really felt like the Bolts, when they had their opportunity, shot it right into the belly of the goaltender.
Yeah.
Whereas the others, those were great shots that went in. So, all right. Thank you, Nick. Good stuff from you today. Appreciate all you guys jumping in as well. We will get you back tomorrow. Timmy Ham will be back on Tuesday, and we will see you guys then. Have a great day.